that's going to be all in. Oh, he's going to lay it down. That's a little bit conservative, just four-handed.
Wow.
You know, when you pick up a pair four-handed, usually, especially if you don't have a lot of chips, you got to make a play. And now we see Santiago with queen 10 of hearts, and he's folding. My goodness, this is a very conservative four-handed game so far.
I don't think Carter Phillips knows the meaning of the word conservative.
Well, I can bet that Carter Phillips would have played both of those hands, and we see him here with Jack-8 of clubs in the big blind. Expect a blind defense of a call or a re-raise, depending on whether or not he has a read on Goodwin. And he's reaching. Looks like he's reaching for a call. Wants to see a flop, and this is a good kind of hand to see a flop with. He's suited, somewhat connected. Jack, you know, he can hit anything. You see the percentages. It's really close. It's like a coin flip. And there's an 8 in the door.
Boom.
So Carter Phillips flops middle pair against Goodwin, who's flopped absolutely nothing. He's just got ace high. Pretty standard. Phillips checks on over to the pre-flop raiser. And Goodwin with a continuation bet. Not a huge bet. Same amount he raised before the flop, so a little less than half the pot. Now the question for Carter Phillips is, how does he approach this situation? Does he want to check raise and protect his hand, or play it carefully and just check call? Looks like he's opting for the careful approach.
Yeah, the latter option. He check calls, and the turn card is a 7, an inconsequential 7.
Well, that's a good card for Phillips. It doesn't help Goodwin. But he's electing to check once again. He's in the driver's seat in this hand, but doesn't want to get bluffed off of it, so he doesn't want to play it too aggressively. And it looks like Goodwin is reaching again. He fired the first bluff on the flop, didn't sense a lot of strength from Carter Phillips, so it looks like he's convinced himself that he can buy this pot with another big bet on the turn.
600,000. There's now 1.5 million in the middle.
Well, now Carter Phillips has to go back in his mind and think, okay, how does Mark Goodwin play these situations? Does he have a king? Does he have me beat? Or is he capable of firing a second bullet? Well, he doesn't buy Goodwin's bet at all, and he's going to make the call once again. This is a very good read. The question is, if Goodwin doesn't catch that ace on the river, is he going to fire that last barrel?
Let's see the river.
Will Goodwin catch the ace? No, instead Phillips catches the jack to improve his hand to 2 pairs.
He's certainly not going to get Phillips to fold right now. Phillips might make a mistake here to bet, but he doesn't. He checks, and Goodwin gives up on the bluff. Carter will show the 2 pair, and Goodwin will see the bad news. He looks
hardly an outdraw on the river. You were never in front, Mark.
He's making it look like it, though, isn't he? I love it.
Looking like I folded a king.
600,000 on the turn, knowing you got a hit. And then you don't bet it when you hit. That's unreal.
No, I didn't think I was behind on the turn.
You weren't behind on the turn.
Have a look at the tape.
Oh my God, does he not realize that we can see the cards?
When I called you on the turn.
Well, we've learned one thing about Mark Goodwin here, and he's definitely a fibber at the poker table.
Carter Phillips is on the button here with queen 10 offsuit.
Well, with the big chip lead, expect Carter Phillips to play his button very aggressively. The hand like queen 10, I'd call this like an automatic raise before the flop.
He raises to 210,000.
You know, that's one of the great luxuries about having a big stack, is that you can keep pushing, and your tournament life is never on the line. But every time your opponent makes a play, well, they could go broke. Goodwin just calling with King Jack, playing it careful. And we see Terrazas with 8-5 of clubs in a 3-way pot. There you go. Get your chips in there. Let's have some gamble. He certainly has the crowd backing him. So a 3-way hand to the flop. Goodwin right now with a small lead with King High. But anything can happen after this board.
Well,
wow.
2 clubs.
That gives Terrazas a flush draw, but more importantly, Goodwin has flopped a pair of kings. Phillips totally airballed the flop and's got nothing. They've both checked to Phillips now. It looks like a board that's what I call a hit or miss board. You know, either somebody's really got something good like a king, or they don't have anything. So if you're the pre-flop raiser, it's pretty standard to go ahead and make a continuation bet on a flop like this.
He makes it 375,000. Goodwin with the best hand.
All right, and this is where we might see some fireworks. Goodwin's certainly not going to fold. He didn't play king-jack to flop a king and then just throw it away. The question is, what will Santiago do? Okay, just a call now from Goodwin. Slow playing it a little longer. And Santiago announces raise.
Just looking at his stack, Daniel, is the raise going to be all in? Yes, it will.
Absolutely. If he's going to make the play with this flush draw, he's got 1.8 million. He's got to stick it all in.
A quick fold.
Now Goodwin asking for a count. Wants to know how much more it is for him to call to eliminate Terrazas. As we see, it's about 1.4 million more. You'd think that Goodwin has to make the call here because he can beat any flush draw. He can beat a worse king, you know. Terrazas could have king 10 or king 9.
1,425,000.
There's the official count.
Well, I don't see how Goodwin is even thinking about this. I think he's got to call him for sure. He beats a lot of drawing hands. As we see, that's what Terrazas has.
Call the clock.
Now that is a reference to a hand on the penultimate day when Santiago called the clock on Mark when he was involved in a pot against Carter Phillips. He's announced call.
He said call, so he gave him a little bit of the business, and finally he's called with the best hand, a 2-to-1 favorite going into the turn and river.
But
Terrazas and his fans needing a club on one of the next 2 cards.
Santiago looking to hit, and the crowd, the entire casino is calling club, club.
Well, they want to see just 1 club. If 2 clubs hit, then Goodwin would make yet another backdoor runner flush. He's got the jack of clubs, of course. So the moment is tense. And it's a 5 on the turn. This gives Terrazas a couple extra outs. He can now catch an 8, 5, or a club. Otherwise, Goodwin will be heads up for the title against Carter Phillips.
Everyone is now screaming club, 8 or 5. Obviously
comes the river.
Screaming it in Spanish, but it doesn't come. Instead, Mark Goodwin takes kings and 4s and eliminates Santiago Terrazas in 3rd. Oh, look, they've made up, bless him, after the little Barney yesterday.
And Carter Phillips is going to look down at King Jack. Now, heads up, that's a pretty strong hand. You know, sometimes a King Jack, you know, at the full table, you might even fold it. We saw earlier Santiago had it and he just didn't even play. But
yeah,
heads up, you don't see that kind of thing. You see a King Jack, you're excited about it. You certainly want to raise with it from the button. And that's exactly what Carter Phillips is doing.
Makes it 275,000. And Mark with ace-10, is he going to re-raise? No, he just calls.
Well, electing to see a flop with the ace-10 out of position. Some players might re-raise there. He's electing to play a more small ball style of poker against Carter Phillips.
Well, the flop brings the king.
Well, looks like Mark Goodwin made a good decision now to do that because Phillips certainly hit that flop real well. He's got top pair with a good kicker. A couple ways to play this. He could set the trap and check and try to hope that Goodwin picks up something on the turn and maybe induce a bluff, or, you know, he can just go ahead and bet now and hope that he gets raised, really. When you're in a heads-up situation late in a tournament, you flop a hand like top pair, it's usually good enough to get all your chips in the middle. So 310,000 bet by Phillips. Now Goodwin knows that Carter Phillips is going to bet that flop no matter what he has. So he's got to think of, unless he has a king 5 or a 4, my ace-10 might still be the best hand. Wow, and looks like Mark Goodwin's making a move here.
Yeah, he has announced raise. He's put in the size of the call, and now he's counting out the chips for the raise.
So instead of re-raising before the flop, he's decided to wait for flop and now put in the move. But it's a little too late now, I think, because now he's allowed Phillips to actually flop the best hand. So 850,000 more to Phillips to make the call.
I can't think he's going anywhere, Daniel.
He's certainly not. The question is, do you let the cat out of the bag right now and let him know you have a really strong hand by re-raising? Or call and hopefully, you know, if Mark Goodwin's bluffing, you let him bluff off some more on the turn. I think, to, you know, standard play with his hand would probably be to just call. there's not much worry about a flush draw or some kind of straight draw, really. So you feel like, well, the only card that he should be worried about, obviously, is an ace.
Well, he's made the call. There is now 2.87 million in the middle.
Yeah, clearly this is the pot of the tournament right now for both these players. Queen on the turn.
And Goodwin, having picked up that inside straight draw, says all in.
Well, Goodwin making a move here, needing now a jack or an ace, but putting a maximum pressure on Phillips, who I think was setting a trap, but now, you know, that Goodwin's moved all in, he's second guessing whether or not his kings are good. He's thinking, really? I called your raise and you're still betting it all? You must have it. We saw Phillips earlier fold a pair of eights when Goodwin bluffed him with 9-10.
Mark's wife, Sandra, knows that his tournament is on the line if Carter Phillips makes this call. The question is, will he make the call? I mean, it's clearly a really tough decision for him.
Well, he's agonizing over it. He doesn't like it. He doesn't like the situation. I think he feels that Goodwin, you know, usually has a hand in the spot, but he's got to know that, I mean, even King 10 in this spot is a hand, so there's just a lot of hands he can beat, and there's very few that he can't, you know? He can really only not beat Ace King, which is unlikely, wasn't re-raised before the flop, or any two pair. Other than that, the King Jack's got to be the best hand. Well, Mark Goodwin just saying, okay, well, hey, do what you got to do, buddy.
It's like the sickest thing ever.
It's not that sick, really. Yeah. It's sick if you're beat, but you are not beat, Carter Phillips.
Sorry I'm taking so long.
No need to apologize. You're allowed to take your time over these tough decisions.
If he takes another 20 seconds, I'm going to call the clock on him.
The worst station ever.
He's going to make the call.
He called it and said, I'm the worst calling station ever, but he's going to love what he sees.
Absolutely.
He's in great shape right now.
86% favorite to win this hand and win the tournament because Mark Goodwin needs to hit a jack or an ace on the river.
That's
or
right.
we have a champion.
Absolutely. You can see Mark Goodwin's wife going, ugh, I wish he had a better hand than that. And Carter Phillips, after the agonizing decision, one card away from being the champion.
It's a blank, and that means we have a champion here in Barcelona. Carter Phillips wins the title.
Wow. It's got to feel so rewarding after thinking for so long through that hand and finally making the right decision. Goodwin just saying, hey, I made a move, didn't work out, but at least he went out with an aggressive move.
Second place for Mark Goodwin, but the title, the trophy, at €850,000 for the American Online qualifier. And 10 years later, we are back in Barcelona for the PokerStars European Poker Tour. It's day 3 of the main event. 2 more levels to play tonight. How many players will we end the day with? I think there might be a bit of a competition going on social media about that. Coming back with around 70 players and blinds at 10,000, 20,000 as we kick off level 21 of the tournament. So we've got a new feature table which we'll introduce in a moment. First, we're going to tell you who's in the lead right now. These are the top 5 stacks in the room. Simon Brandstrom has the chip lead, 2.4 million, followed by former chip leader Johnny Nedved. Also in the top 5, Shannon Shorr, Rui Sousa, and Alexander Ivarsson, who was at our previous feature table. But that table's going to break soon, and that means a new lineup on the main stage. 8 players for us to meet. Some familiar names, some not so familiar. They include Tim Adams from Canada, and he is going to be the biggest stack on the main stage. He's going to have a stack of 1.16 million. We've also got the guy who was the chip leader at the start of the day, Simon Matson. And Sergei Reichak won the super high roller, beat Sam Grafton heads up in the 100K event here at the Barcelona Festival. And just to confirm, the blinds are going to be going up. Actually, maybe we are at the 816 blind level. We were at 612 before dinner. I correct myself. 816 with a 16K big blind ante. I'm James Hartigan, and I'm joined for this level by a former professional poker player, a former EPT finalist, who is now head of game integrity for PokerStars. Welcome to PokerStars TV, Baard Dahl.
Thank you very much, James.
a segment of the show that I've decided will be called Chairman of the Board.
Oh, that's original. Very original. I never heard that before.
You see, normally you'd rely on Joe Stapleton for jokes like that, but luckily you've got me instead. Now, Board, people who've been following the EPT from the beginning may just remember you. You were on the tour in the early years. I think it was London, season 1, where you made the final table, finishing 4th.
Yes, I think that's right. I mean, I was playing almost all events in season 1 and 2, and that was the time when I was a professional, really like the mid-2000s. I mean, it's funny when I hear people say, oh, the golden age of poker was 2009, then I was already over the hill. So.
I mean, I think I told you this earlier in the week. There was a magazine article back in the mid-2000s, and it was identifying the ones to watch, the players who'd made an early impact on the EPT, who were expecting great things of. Isabel No Mercy Mercia was one of them, and you were the second name on the list.
Yeah, I mean, I think it didn't age well, that article, but for neither of us. But I mean, it was kind of difficult in Norway at that time to kind of improve because the environment wasn't that big. I mean, live poker is not legal, or at least it wasn't at that time. So there wasn't really a big community to learn from, and evolution just passed me by, and I realized it, unfortunately, and started to get into the other side of the gaming industry, not as a player. I still play, but...
I mean, I was going to say, it's a race situation. You have the option of traveling the European poker circuit, staying in wonderful hotels and playing poker in glamorous casinos. Alternatively, you could work and live on the Isle of Man.
I mean, it's not much of a choice, really, is there?
It's a hidden domination, clearly.
A reverse domination, possibly.
So 72 players remaining, and let's get straight to the action here with an under-the-gun raise from Rodrigo Carmo with pocket kings. Opens to 35,000. Carmo made the final table of this event last year. Our 5th place finisher, cashing for 354,200 euros, looking to go back-to-back main event final tables.
In these fields, that's really some performance.
And we referenced it earlier in the week, Baard. I mean, when you were playing on the EPT, you're looking at 250, 300 players in the main event. We're looking at, like, 1,500 unique players, 1,988 total entries.
Yeah, no, was it a 2 or was it a 3-day tournament at that time? I think
it was 3 days.
Yeah, well, I think that the final table was evening on the last day. We played down to the final table during the afternoon, I think. So yeah.
Well, that was raise and take it for Carmo. So now you are head of game integrity at Stars. What does that involve?
Well, it means that I'm in charge of a team of 70 people who are trying to look after all the players, make sure that no one is cheating, and protecting players from other players who might try funny stuff, to put it that way. I mean, we have. I mean, of course, people know about. I mean, there's been a lot of talk about bots in the recently, but that's not all we are looking at. We are also looking at people colluding, for example. That means playing together in a game, trying to get an advantage over the others, because if you know 2 sets of whole cards, you have an advantage that the other players don't have, and also other things. My job is quite easy because I'm just trying to, make sure that we have the right people in the right places. And apart from that, we have so many smart people. They're almost all former poker players, so they know what we're talking about, and they have a wide experience in different games, and really, like from top to bottom, a very motivated bunch, passionate about poker, who wants to keep the games clean for everyone and keep them enjoyable.
Okay, we'll talk a bit more about that in just a moment. Let's see how this hand unfolds. It's Mohamed Peratti who got the action started, raising under the gun with ace-king, and this is arguably a mistimed 3-bet by Timothy Adams. Obviously, nice play from the button with the king-8. However, He has run into a legitimate hand here, and I don't imagine Peratti is going to fold ace-king to this re-raise.
No, but I mean, Peratti has to be aware that Adams knows he raised from early position and has a very strong hand. So ace-king offsuit, you don't love it if you shove and get called. So.
Okay, so there's a few things, follow-up questions I have. The first one is the team that you're managing, the 70 people who are working in game integrity. You say that these are people who are like kind of keen poker players, former professionals like yourself?
Yeah, it's a mix. I mean, we have some who has played at the highest levels at the heads-ups it goes on the site, for example, all the way down through very high-level MTT players and cash game players, and then, of course, the passionate recreational players also. So we get the whole range, which I think is a good thing because it's not always that the former professional player can really get into the minds of the normal everyday player that we have on the site. So to get that understanding from top to bottom, I think is important to have that variety.
And the first thing you talked about is bots. It's a word that gets thrown around a lot. When we say bot, are we talking about like computer programs that people run to play poker for them?
That can be part of it. That's one of the, if you will call it a threat. But there's also people who use solvers in-game. For those who don't know what that is, it's basically a big, very powerful poker calculator where you put in the current state of the hand, and it will try to give you an advice on what to do. You have not all of them are very good, and the most automated bots are actually losing players. But regardless of that, we think that players don't want to play against bots; they want to play against humans. But then there's also the programs that might be better than most players, and of course that's not a good situation either. We've seen, I mean, recently we saw this program Pluribus, I think, was it Carnegie Mellon, who had developed it, who beat some top players in the 6-max cash game. And while you can say that that bots become stronger and stronger, then it doesn't automatically follow that they are more difficult to detect. One of my guys usually says that if you have a Beetle or you have a Lamborghini, you're still going to catch it with a radar gun. And it's kind of the same thing. I mean, I don't want to be flippant. Of course, we are missing things, and sometimes it takes longer than we would wish to catch someone. However, it's not, I don't think necessarily that bots are an existential problem for poker, as long as we are able to keep on top of what's being developed.
Two follow-up questions to that. The first is, I'm slightly surprised when you say that most bots that you discover are actually losing money. I thought the whole reason that people would use this software, use these programs, is because they could just make a fortune without ever having to sit down and play a hand.
Well, the thing is that it's very difficult to make a good poker bot. First of all, poker is a very complex game. It was one thing to make a program to play heads-up poker, because then you have a limited amount of information that you need to consider. Another thing is to do 6-max, which is infinitely more complicated. And if you get into games like Omaha, then you have other complicating layers also. So it's difficult, and I think that I will not really guess why people want to play with bots that are losing players, but in the past, with the reward system that gave a lot of incentives for volume, that might be a part of it. But it can also be that they're trying to develop and they need some live environments. But to be honest, most of those types of bots that we're talking about here, they are automated bots, and we usually catch them very quickly.
The other question I was going to ask, Baard, is where is the line drawn? Because in the past, we know that there are programs, there are HUDs that people can use, there's Poker Tracker, there's Hold'em Manager. Where does it become software that you can use to help your game, and when does the line become crossed where it's using stuff which is giving you an unfair advantage?
Well, I mean, It is actually it is difficult to define because when we have spent a lot of time trying to make our rules to be as fair as possible. I mean, obviously, if you have a program that takes information from the hands you're playing in real time, then that's an absolute no-no, because it should always be a game between minds and not a race of having the best software. Then you have things that are in between. I mean, a lot of players use push-fold charts, which, I mean, to be honest, I think almost everyone has a version of them. And while we might not want to see it, it's also very difficult for us to detect who will have a paper in front of them on the desk.
Of course.
So, and they're very readily available. And also, I think most serious poker players actually have this information in their fingertips. But if it becomes more, say, like more complicated charts where you have a lot more information, for example, which hand you should open in every position and when you should 3-bet, and much more like a crutch to stand on that will improve your game in a way that you otherwise wouldn't be able to, then it kind of becomes, you don't want to see that. But then anyway, with this, as I said, it's something we spend so much time on, and it's an evolving issue.
Of course. So let's check in on the action here. The 140th hand we've seen dealt today on our feature table, and it is Leandro Bustillo from Argentina who's opened with pocket fours. Round to the blinds. The super high roller champion in the small blind with ace-6. And Alan Alanka, who was on our feature table earlier, folds the big blind as well. Of course, it's a big talking point, as you said yourself, the idea of bots playing on online poker sites. How prevalent are they? I mean, how are we talking about a small problem, or is it a huge problem that you're dealing with on a daily basis?
I mean, it's not a huge problem in terms of us catching hundreds of bots every day. It's more in terms of keeping it all the way keeping it down in order to make sure that the players can be confident they are not playing against them. So, I mean, we don't publish these numbers because out of context it doesn't really mean anything. But I don't know. By the way, some race coming in.
Yeah, Odeen with the ace-king, opening to 35,000.
But to go back to your question, it's we see actually on some of the sites of people selling these bots, they quite often write that don't use them on PokerStars because we have, in our experience, you will get caught very quickly. So we take that as a compliment to our team. But I would say that it's one of the most important things that 8-3 suited. Okay, I thought it was offsuit.
A slight kind of like raise of the eyebrow there.
Yeah.
But I mean, this is, I mean, you obviously across the game, even now, Borden, this is the common thing. You basically defend your big blind with any two these days.
Yeah, I mean, but I thought if it wasn't suited, then. I mean, back in our day, I remember my bust-out hand from one main event one time, and the lady had defended her big blind with King 5 suited against me, and flop came King 5 deuce or something. I had ace king, and I managed to get myself broke on it, and I berated her to no end because she was such a fish playing King 5 suited. So, you know, it's a completely different time.
Different era. So how much of the work that goes on in detecting bots specifically, how much of that is human detective work, and how much is that software and algorithm based?
Well, there's a few things. First of all, we get some player reports, which we are very happy to get. We are always investigating every report. But I think people will be surprised to hear that 95% of the investigation that end in us concluding that something untoward has happened is initiated by our own tools. That's not to say that the player reports are not valuable, because some of our some of our largest cases have actually been initiated by players themselves. So just keep those reports coming for sure. But we have an enormous amount of data, and then on top of that, we put tools that give us alerts when the system suspects something happens, and then those cases are assigned to our agents, who then initiates a investigation, and that can go in different ways. Sometimes it's a slam dunk exoneration and very quickly, but sometimes we have to look deeper into it. So let's see if we have an interesting flop there.
Queen high would be interesting.
Yeah, I was going to say the same. I mean, we like a good card crush.
Instead, it's 9-8-3. This would have been a great flop for Matsson's big blind defend on the previous hand.
Oh yeah.
Carmo, final last year's EPT Barcelona main event.
You can find a call here with some backdoors and a perceived advantage in the range, but so we'll see. It will probably work for him, pending the run out, obviously.
Yeah, but those backdoors.
We all like a good backdoor, don't we?
The Carmo C-bet is 30,000 into 94,000, and Bustillo decides to let it go. Just a reminder that Baard Dahl, former pro player, former EPT finalist, and now head of game integrity at PokerStars, is with us. Hashtag PokerStarsTV on Twitter if you want to get in touch, as we continue to play 2 more levels tonight in the EPT Barcelona main event. We're now in level 21, the 8-16 blind level. Still have 75 minutes to play, a 90-minute session after that, and the remaining players will bag and tag and come back for day 4, and tomorrow is the day that we play down to the final 16, the final 2 tables. Right now, 72 remain. And the action here is going to start on Jerry Odeen from Sweden.
I was going to help you out with the Swedish names, actually, because Odeen might be right. I'm not quite sure about him, but the others you killed pretty badly.
I mean, I butcher most names, but I'm a great believer that if you say it confidently, people will think you know what you're talking about.
Well, I can think of several situations in today's society where that happens, but...
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, Mattsson, for example.
Okay, Mattsson. Well,
not that I'm Swedish at all, but... Oh, this is going to...
This could result in some flipping. Simon with ace-king on the button.
Yeah, I think it's just a matter of whether or not Odeen wants to play for stacks with jacks, or want to see a flop after the 3 bets. Because he can definitely not 4-bet and fold to a shove, so he either has to go for it here or just call and see what happens.
Of course, the shot clock is in play, 30 seconds per decision. Alternatively, you can play a time bank card to buy yourself an additional 30 seconds thinking time, and that's what Odeen has elected to do.
Do you think, do you see, for example, if you had aces here, do you see anyone Hollywood with the time bank card?
Oh, yeah.
It's kind of the thing you have to balance when you use the time bank cards these days also. It's
becomes a new factor, right?
Yeah.
Well, he's going to respond with a 4-bet. He's re-raised to 280,000.
He doesn't love ace-king here either.
There is the all-in.
He loved it.
Matsson presented with the red triangle of death.
Yeah.
And there is the call from Odeen, and we are off to the races. Ace-king against pocket jacks, and it is Odeen who's the at-risk player here. Matsson has 75k behind, and this is a 1.76 million chip pot. Certainly the biggest pot we've seen so far in the EPT Barcelona main event this year.
Yeah, I mean, these are the pots that, I mean, the equity in this pot is just ridiculous, right? I mean, they will bring you up among the top 6 or 7 players, I think.
Team Sweden wants me to win them, so we both still win. I guess. All the viewers at home, you know.
There's no soft playing amongst the Swedes, that's for sure.
Let's deal the flop, which is Queen 8-4, Jacks holding. Odeen now a 3-1 favorite to double up through Mattsson. Turn card is a deuce. Just has to fade an ace or a king on the river to survive.
Let's see who the luckiest player in the Sweden is. Nope.
Jacks hold. So, Jerry Odeen is now playing 1.76 million. He's got a 110 big blind stack. Meanwhile, Simon Mattsson drops down to 75k. He's got just 4 bigs. And hasn't it always been the way in poker that you got to win flips in poker tournaments?
I mean, that's the best skill you can have, to be honest. I mean, you can. It almost feels like sometimes what happens early in the tournament doesn't matter because one flip later, I mean, it's going to decide the destiny anyway. I mean, obviously it's not that so. It's because you play a lot of tournaments and every chip you win at any point is increase your expectation. But it's all about flips, and I mean, If you win a lot of flips in the big 109, that's one thing. But if you win the critical flips in this tournament, then that's another matter altogether. So it's not always only winning flips, but at which tournaments you actually do it too. So
yeah, try and run good in the big ones, right?
Yeah, exactly. Oh well, I ran $50 under EV in the 109. I can live with it.
Yeah, I think the classic cliche is that you've got to play well enough in the early stages of an MTT to then get lucky in the late stages.
Yeah, no, exactly. And obviously the extra chips you win is important in as much you might survive a lost flip at some point and still have life, like the 4 big blinds that Mattsson has now. But, I mean, as Joe Stapleton famously says, chip in the chair, right?
Absolutely, that expression that he coined 5 years ago, 2014. Aces for Peratti. And he's got some creative chip stacking going on there, and I'll allow it. I like it.
Yeah.
Raises to 34,000. Round to the blinds. Timothy Adams folds the small. And the new table chip leader, Jerry Odeen, has 9-6 off.
This is kind of interesting spot. And okay, he probably play it anyway. But after you win such a big hand, sometimes you feel like, oh, now I'm just going to run over everyone. I don't know. I like to, might not be right, but I like to just calm down, just play very,
I mean,
I'm sorry.
I mean, when you're running like this, why on earth would you fold?
Yeah,
Any
exactly.
2 cards, right?
Just disregard what I said. It's play every hand after you win big pots. That's the best strategy, obviously.
Very important to play results, and I'm not sure if Peratti's going to get away from this easily. He continues for 30,000. I mean, if Odeen knew how strong he was, this would be an obvious check raise spot, but...
Yeah, the problem when you flop 2 pairs is that you block so many good combinations also from the opponent. I mean, you wouldn't expect him to hit 9-6-2s very often. So it's the over pairs you want to play against, but it's often wise to just call first. But out of position is a little bit different.
Well, there is the check raise to 95,000.
Yeah.
And Peratti calls.
The thing is now, right, Odeen almost knows for certain that Peratti has an overpair now because he just called very casually, very quickly, didn't think about it. So now he's just playing the hand face up and just trying to decide how much money he should extract. He has to be a little bit concerned about queens, but I mean, it's just I think he's just thinking about how do I get the whole stack in here.
282,000 in the middle. Peratti, the effective stack, with 767 behind.
210.
And having taken the betting lead on the flop, we'll see Odeen barrel on the turn. 210,000.
Yeah, then he can shove the river and get the whole stack if the board doesn't pair. Tried his calling. I mean, Peratti has to think also, this guy just won the pot. Is he going to try to bluff me on this dry board? I mean, it's not like a... I mean, something to think about, right? I mean, you can have 8-7, of course, and try something, but...
Well, Odeen has a lock on this.
Yeah, I think the bet will be 557,000.
Would you like a red triangle, sir?
All in.
Yep. Shoves on Peratti. It's all in to call.
I mean, it's just a 6 spot for him. I mean, he obviously has a good hand, but for anything that Odeen is representing, he only has a bluff catcher. And then he has to think, is this, you know, the hand after he won the biggest flip of the tournament? I'm usually calling station. I would definitely call, but...
Well, we're monitoring how many time bank cards he'll have to surrender. Of course, if he calls, he'll be surrendering all of his chips, and monitoring the number of time bank cards he has is irrelevant.
Well, he might as well use them, right? I mean, just to put everything in the middle.
That's what they're there for, the big decisions. Okay, time bank card number 2. Meanwhile, there has been an elimination at one of the outer tables, which means we're down to 71, which is good news for Peratti, should he call and be eliminated, because there's been a jump in prize money. Everyone's now locked up 20K. He calls all in, and he is out. Eliminated by Jerry Odeen, who in 2 consecutive hands has won massive pots to take the chip lead in the main event. 2.66 million, a 166 big blind stack.
A couple of minutes ago, he could have been out of the tournament. Now he's the chip leader.
Incredible. And Peratti cashing out for just over 20K.
Oh, I mean, that's gutting. I mean, you have aces, you're excited, you're just looking to double your stack, and then, oops,
Yeah, that's
out.
just run out. So
Yeah.
Still a long way to go, but with 70 players remaining, this Swedish player has the biggest stack in the main event. Meanwhile, his fellow countryman has 4 bigs.
Well, he laddered also now, right? So
Indeed.
not that he will be, he will probably still be a bit upset about the hand, but okay. Free money.
Every little extra helps. Well, folded to the short stack, he passes. Leandro Bustillo, and that's one of the things, of course, that with it being the big blind ante rather than every player posting an ante, Watson can be perhaps a little bit more patient than otherwise.
Yeah, actually, I played the event yesterday and today, and it's the first time I personally tried the big blind ante, and I like it, of course, because it speeds up play a lot, but it feels almost gut-wrenching when you are short stacked to have to give out so many chips before the hand. Let's see.
So Bustillo has opened with ace tray, ace queen for Tim Adams on the button.
I think it's the usual 3-bet here. No, they just call.
Yep, flats in position.
I'm not contributing much correct analysis here, it seems.
And Carmo may come along for the ride as well.
Oh, he's not folding, that's for sure. He might even think about 3-betting with his blockers to many strong hands. No.
Okay, so 3-way to the flop. At least you've been treated with some good action.
Yeah. Oh.
Queen 10-6. And poor old Rodrigo Carmo has kicker problems here.
It's a difficult spot for him also because he's going to go check, check. Adam's going to bet. And it's also, from Carmo's point of view, it's a spot where Adams might bluff a lot. So he's definitely going to lose a decent amount of chips here unless the run out's good for him.
So with no continuation bet from Bustillo, Adams bets 75,000 into 129,000. And Carmo calls. The original raiser folds, so we're going heads up to the turn. Six of diamonds.
Yeah, it's not good for Carmo.
Well, he's checked it.
There's a small chance from Adam's point of view that Carmo has a 6, but I don't think that's a concern for him right now. I'm not sure he thinks he will get 3 streets here, but he might very well do it. You get it.
$175,000. It's hard for Carmo to do anything other than just call this.
I mean, from Carmo's point of view, Adams could have Queen Jack, for example, also, and because Ace Queen, it's not so rare to see. It will quite often 3-bets, right? So
yeah. Jack on the river.
Yeah, that actually might slow Adams down because Queen Jack is definitely an option for Carmo here, and he wouldn't bet out on the river with that hand either. So yeah.
So check, check, showdown, and Tim Adams will win this pot. And he's going to add 344,000 to his stack. Well, 3 decent hands in a row. At least this pot wasn't sent in the direction of Jerry Odeen, who's still not just the table chip leader, but the tourney chip leader with 2.6 million right now. I'm going to step away from the main stage, bring you some action from the outer tables, and a hand between Alexander Ivarsson and Stefan Jedlička. And we join this hand on the river. Queen, Jack, 9-5-4, that's the board. And Ivarsson's bet 275,000. Call from Jedlička, Ivarsson shows 7-6. That is a busted straight draw. Jedlička, King Jack, second pair. And that is a significant pot, which will see Jedlička move up to the 1.4 million mark.
It's even Ivarsson.
Ivarsson.
Ivarsson. Something like that. When I was a child, I watched a lot of Swedish TV because we had one Norwegian channel and 2 Swedish ones, so that was all we were getting.
Meanwhile, the short stack is all in back at the feature table.
Well, Queen 8 is in reasonable shape, of course, so...
Yeah, not bad. You're quite happy to have 46% equity.
To get 8 big blinds, or 9 maybe. 174, oh, it's actually almost 11.
Lately, very good.
That's what I usually have in tournaments.
The comeback starts here, question mark?
Could be.
You asked me before Barcelona, I would say no, but
Maybe not.
Ah,
very good.
Looks like a long shot now.
a very long shot. Simon Mutson down to 2% equity.
Oh.
Okay, picks up outs now. Queens and 8s working for him. And the river is an 8! It is indeed that much funner when you go runner, runner.
I'm sure that he was thinking when the flop came, like, yeah, of course it's ace 3 deuce, and that's it. But okay, 11 big blinds now. He can get people to fold to shove. So you know, we've seen worse.
So from 2% to 100% on the turn of 2 cards. I want to continue talking about your work in game integrity at PokerStars Board. First of all, the team that you have. Geographically, where are they? Are they all based on the Isle of Man or all around the world?
No, all around the world. Isle of Man is only myself and one other guy, one senior manager. We are located in as far, let's say, east as Hyderabad in India. And we have people in Malta, in Dublin, in London, also in our office in New Jersey. And we have a number of remote workers in US and Canada. So we cover most time zones in our day. I think we are maybe 4 or 5 hours every day that we are not someone at work. But apart from that, we are on, we're going to say, 19/7.
Yeah.
So, and that also is a good thing because we cover a lot of languages and different countries and nationalities, which means that whenever we have to speak to a player during the investigation, we can give that responsibility to various different people.
And I'm sure that each investigation is unique, but is it led by just one person? Is it teamwork? How long does an investigation take?
It all depends on, I mean, the type of investigation, of course, and how, you know, how. I'm going to say a range of different factors, but for the typical investigation, a small investigation, it will usually be done by one person. But if he reaches the conclusion that something bad has happened or this player has circumvented the rules in some ways, then he always has to get this signed off by another agent. And if those two disagree on the outcome of the investigation, then a third senior agent will come in. And then if, depending on how much money is at stake here, it has to be signed off by either manager, senior manager, or even myself, or sometimes actually even my boss. So it all depends. It can be a lot of players, a lot of people involved in the end. Particularly for bot investigations, there are so many ways that we are looking at it that sometimes we have mile-long email threads with whole teams involved.
Right. Well, Tim Adams raised pre. Rodrigo Carmo called in position and has flopped best, top pair. Carmo has bet 35,000 and Adams is going to peel. Armo still with the best hand. Did Adams check here?
Yeah, I think so. He fluttered his fingers somehow. I think Carmo is wondering what Adams has. I mean, probably the way he's playing it, he has exactly like ace king or ace queen. Didn't want to give up, but
Adams folds to the bet on the turn. But there have been some high-profile cases where nefarious behaviour has been spotted and players have been disqualified from tourneys, and then it's a case of prize money being adjusted and the guy who finished second being elevated to first. How much money is actually being, I guess, invested in correcting situations where there has been wrongdoing?
well, if you're talking about our budget and the investment we make in tools and such.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't have the exact number, but over the last 10 years, I'd say that at least $40 million have been invested by PokerStars in the game integrity. And that goes, then I talk about salaries for the team, paying developers to create tools, buying different hardware and all these things. So it's a very significant investment, and I think it shows exactly how serious we take this. But I mean, obviously, we wouldn't have done it. Let me say it differently. It's the right thing to do, but it's also good for the business to make sure that the games stay clean. Because if players get the impression that there's a prevalence of cheating going on the site, then we will lose our customers very quickly. So, in that light, the 40 million is not a small investment at all, but it is certainly a necessary one.
And those percentages that you gave, I think it was that 95% of stuff you and your team are spotting, 5% of cases that customers are bringing to you. And again, if we look back in online poker history and look at some of the biggest scandals, not necessarily in the world of PokerStars, but maybe on other platforms, the work that players do in investigating and spotting stuff is really important.
Yes, and I mean, if you take the ultimate bet scandal,
Yes.
for example, then obviously players were, I mean, it wouldn't have happened if it weren't for the players at all, and a certain customer support agent at Ultimate Bet who sent out hand histories when he probably shouldn't have, according to the company policy. And I will also say that we say 95%, but that is now after years of experience in enhancing our tools and so on and so on. Back in, say, 5 years ago, that number wasn't 95%. Then it might have been like 2 out of 3 cases were found proactively. So we continue to invest and build our tools, which is, and also I hope it reflects that our good work, that people don't try to cheat as much with PokerStars as they might try other places. Although I cannot say what's going on in other sites because I don't have any visibility to it, obviously. But we are actually seeing a decrease in the amounts of money that we pay out in refunds. And I don't think that means that we find that we're not good at our jobs anymore. I just think that it means that players are more hesitant. They see that the risk of getting caught is so big that they don't want to take that chance. I mean, for someone who makes a living off poker, having a PokerStars account is worth a lot of money, and risking that is stupid. And I think there's, I mean, you can see an analogy that in countries that where they parade out these big drug busts and stuff, it probably means that they have a big problem with the drugs getting into the country, and that these big busts are just
Yeah. We're heading to the outer tables because we have a hand here between Anton Seiden and Robert Heidorn. And this is on the river. We have had a bet of 50,000 from Seiden, and Heidorn has bet 200K, leaving himself 250 behind. And Seiden's moved all in, and Heidorn's folded. Okay, well that one ended quickly.
Yeah, well, what I was going to say is that if you have a lot of these high-profile cases, it probably means that you have a problem on your site, and
Oh, and there is Artur Martirosyan, and it looks like he is out, eliminated, cashing for 20,000 euros, leaving us with 68 players. Unsurprisingly, because I know our audience all too well, there's a certain amount of, shall we say, cynicism in the face of some of the stuff you're saying, Baard. The idea that PokerStars would invest in something, the fact that PokerStars has poker players working for it, the fact that we would take game integrity seriously. I mean, I guess on the one hand you can understand where some of that cynicism might be coming from, but equally I imagine it's something you're quite keen to quash.
yes, of course, and I mean, you know, regardless of the quality of my analysis, there is actually a person who is passionate about poker heading the department, but I'm far from the only one. And we have our own, I mean, we have players who play very high levels of poker, you know, even as they work for game integrity. And throughout the team, we are just have poker players in every position. So, and it's not only game integrity, but it is in the poker department in general. This is the case. So I know that, I mean, we are a public company, and as such, it's not all poker players that is the best suited to be the CEO, for example. So we have to leave some of those more important things for the wider company to the business professionals. But when it comes to poker, then it's very much a poker-centric team in all aspects.
Well, this is Ace Queen versus Ace Jack. And we see the pre-flop aggressor continuing for 35,000. Odeen calls. Eight of spades on the turn. Check, check. 10 on the river. Ace Queen high, still the best hand.
Interested to see if he tries to bluff it or if he thinks that Ace Queen is good, or he feels like it's got enough showdown. And the same. I mean, with Ace Jack here, I mean, you know you're not going to win either. Yeah, checking is not going to win the pot unless, well, like Odeen could have 4 or 5 or something maybe. If, well, everything's working for the chip leader.
Odeen closing in on the 3 million mark, 2.7 million, 170 big blinds. I'm interested in the subject of collusion, which you mentioned earlier on board the idea of the fact that you've got two players effectively sharing information. I don't know how much detail you can go into, because I guess there's a certain amount of stuff that you can't reveal, but how easy is that to spot? Again, how do you detect that and prove that?
Well, I mean, the main way of seeing it is that people play their hands in an unusual way when they have a certain player in a certain position in relation to them, and that we have automated tools that look at and can raise alerts. I mean, obviously, one or two hands is not proof of collusion, but if you look at it in over a longer period, you can then make a decision on whether or not they are really working together. I would say that sometimes, if you look at very inexperienced players, like maybe two friends start to play at the same time, they play at the same table, they might not even know that it's against the rules.
Right.
To most of us, this is obvious. But if you just started to play poker, maybe it isn't. So if it's low stakes and it's fairly innocuous, then very often we will just warn the players and say, no, you can't do this, and refer to the rules. And we almost never see players be repeat offenders after that. It's usually better to educate people in those cases. But sometimes we have a case where it's much more malicious, but then you can usually see this over time. And obviously we would like to catch them the first day they try to collude, but it's not always possible. But I feel like, and I'm proud to say that we are very effective in this. And it's also helps to get the player reports that we say, because then it's also a matter of players often feel that there's something fishy going on here, and then if we can get that in addition to our own tools, then we have more legs to stand on, so to speak. Sometimes if we don't feel very confident in our okay, let's say that if we were in a court and we don't feel confident that we would get the judge to believe our evidence, then we might just close the player's account and say, sorry, you cannot play at PokerStars anymore, but you can take the money with you. And then in that way make sure that we rather err on the side of caution in those cases and block the players from playing. But if we are sure and we are confident in our evidence, then we will both confiscate their money and we will close their accounts and redistribute their money to the players that's been affected by their cheating.
Well, this is blind on blind. A6 against 10-6. Domination, rotation. Well, Carmo's now drawing dead.
Our Spanish friend is getting rewarded for his check now, because he might get one bet from Carmo. I say our Spanish friend because I have no idea how to pronounce that name. I'd also like to say, though, that we're talking about collusion. I mean, this is not behavior that many players engage in. It doesn't happen that often. If you consider that we at any given time can have 200,000 players on the site and more, it doesn't happen often at all. So we are just like the safety pin in the system, and making sure that that everyone can have a good time playing on PokerStars.
Well, we're going to go out into the field and check out one of the hands from one of the outer tables. And we join this hand pre-flop. So Griffin Benja opened with a raise to 32,000, called by former chip leader Johnny Nedved. And now Pasquale Bracco has raised to 155,000. Griffin Benja declares all in. Shoving for around $1 million. There's the fold from Nedved. And I think Griffin has got Bracco covered here. Bracco has about 700K total. And that is a call. Bracco calling all in with ace-king of hearts. Griffin with jack-10 of clubs.
Well, he didn't believe the call for, but...
And it is an ace-king high flop. +2 hearts. No help on the river for Griffin, and that is going to put a serious dent in his stack. Huge double up for Pasquale Bracco. And Griffin Benja will be left with less than 300K. He's going to be playing 280,000 after that coup.
I think there must have been some dynamics at that table that made Griffin do that. I mean, it's maybe Nedved is frequently 3-betting, and Griffin thought that his opponent picked up on that and wanted to try and bluff himself. But I mean, as it was, he wasn't in bad shape really with Jack-10 suited against Ace-King.
No. But that was a very, again, a pretty huge pot, around 1.4 million there. Plus the dead money from Nedved.
It also shows kind of guts you need to show sometimes to win some of these tournaments. And obviously, it didn't go okay.
Well, the WCOOP is about to get underway. Starts next week, on Thursday, the 5th of September. $75 million in guaranteed prize money across the 73 events on the schedule. Low, medium, and high buy-ins for most. Only 2 buy-ins for the main event. A $55 buy-in and a $5,200 buy-in. Daily satellites are running ahead of the series, each with an added 5K main event ticket added. And of course, there'll be plenty of our guys streaming themselves playing in WCOOP events. I know Vincent, Spraggy, and Lex are going to be all over WCOOP. Almost 3 weeks of action.
One of the results of PokerStars having an eye on the game integrity is that employees cannot play. So I haven't played WCOOP since 2010, which is my biggest regret when it comes to working for PokerStars, to be honest. But everything else is all good.
Now, I'm assuming it's not your responsibility to answer these questions, but I'm sure you're well used to hearing them when people talk about the deal, the random number generator, the dodgy bad beats on stars. Is it a fair game? Again, not your department, but something, again, that I guess PokerStars does take seriously in trying to say that, of course, it's a fair game.
Yeah, I mean, this is something that comes up, and because people will always wonder about these things. And what I can say is that we use very sophisticated random number generators that are not possible for us or anyone else to influence, and they take input from a lot of random sources, which makes it impossible for us to influence. And what happens is that when a deck is shuffled in the system or by the random number generator, the 52 cards are in one order throughout the hand. It doesn't change. So it's not like we have any influence on what happens. And also, it's, I mean, I've always thought it was a kind of strange question. Not a strange, I mean, I understand people ask about it, but it's very difficult for us to estimate on the fly who is most profitable for us to give the pot to and so on. So, but I can assure you, to the extent that everyone trusts me, that the random number generator is very accurate, and there's nothing that we can do to influence it.
So raise here from Tim Adams with King Queen, called by Reichak with King Jack, and by Bustillo with 8-4 in the big blind. And of course it's the 8-4 that flops best.
I always seem to get in trouble with if I try a call like that with 8-4, but these guys are in the final 60 some odd players, yeah, so that's probably.
So with everyone checking the flop, we get the 3 of hearts on the turn. No one has a heart in their hand.
Yeah, it's difficult to bet because you think you will get called by someone who has a heart or something, and
Bustillo decides to try and get a little bit of value on the river. After this went check, check, check on the flop, and likewise on the turn. 47k into 129k. It looks like 2 folds. We've got a new player coming into the feature table. Robert Hydorn is joining us, bringing 554,000 to the table, around 35 big blinds. So we are 8-handed once again. Baard, I know you didn't want to talk in any detail about any other sites, but how confident are you that PokerStars is ahead of the game, or is the industry leader when it comes to matters of game integrity, when it comes to stopping cheats, bots, colluders?
well, I mean, we have the anecdotal evidence from players themselves, among other things, that from what we read on forums or when we talk to players, they seem to think that that is the case. And we also believe that since we have taken this so seriously for a decade and more, that we have the experience that will allow us to be far ahead of the competition in these cases. I mean, we know that other sites are also working on this. I'm not going to say they're not, but seems also like some are quite recently becoming more involved than they have been in the past. So I think that it will take some time before they can catch up with us. But I mean, I would like to see all sites put in the effort that we are doing, because I think it's good for poker in general, and I think it will help keep players in the game. And from a personal standpoint, those are the sites that I am allowed to play on. So from a personal point of view, I'd like to see it too. But so far, I'm confident that we are ahead, and although we will never be catching everyone 100% of the time, I do think that we are creating an environment where the risk does not outweigh the rewards in most cases for players to try to bend the rules.
And there's one final question I wanted to ask, and I guess it's tough because you may have a personal opinion on this, and then there may be the official company line, and the two may not necessarily be aligned. But when it comes to stuff like tracking software, and I know we talked about that briefly, and also the issue of hand histories, which has been debated recently, with one site deciding that they're not going to allow players to have hand histories anymore. Would you like it if all of these tracking tools, if all of this software just was not allowed, if it was just a very clear distinction that you play by yourself with your own wits and you don't have anything running in the background that's helping you make decisions?
Well, I mean, something to help you make decisions, it depends on how it is. Like, if would I like to see no one ever using a HUD, for example?
Yeah.
Yes, sure, I would like that. Would I like to get rid of hand histories? No, absolutely not, because I think that they are an invaluable tool for players. Poker is a game of skill, and the way to improve is to analyze your hands and to analyze, see where you make mistakes, and then come back to the table and improve upon them. When it comes to HUDs and such things, I believe that they are less damaging to the recreational players than others might think, simply because I think the pure recreational players, they don't play so many hands that they have a big enough sample size to become very meaningful, at least in order to exploit them a lot. But they are mostly, I feel, and this is my personal opinion, that they are mostly useful when it comes to two experienced players playing against each other, for example. But I mean, in an ideal world, we wouldn't have such software maybe, but I also think that if we say no HUDs, no nothing, then you will get this black market software that a few players will have, and those who follow the rules will kind of be punished because they will play with less information than these players who use maybe something they made themselves or something that's just distributed to very few players. So it's kind of a double-edged sword there. The reason that we haven't completely banned HUDs is that we feel it's not as harmful, as I said, and B, that it's very difficult to enforce in a way that doesn't hurt those who will follow the rules. We have made quite a few limitations on what information these HUDs can contain, and the companies that make them, they generally cooperate with us, and if we tell them to not make certain information available during hand play, they will comply and take it out. So in that sense also we have a better control of what type of software is used on the site.
Well, Odeen gets there on the river, wins another pot, up to nearly 2.8 million, more than 170 big blinds, and 22 minutes left on the level. Odeen, the current chip leader, not just at this table, but in the tourney overall. 63 players remaining. And this is the penultimate level of the night. Everyone who survives day 3 will come back tomorrow, having bagged and tagged, with day 4 kicking off at 12:30 local time. We'll be streaming every single hand as we play down to the final 2 tables.
And we were sweating the entry count at the end of before the start of day 2. We were really hoping to get more than 2,000 entries, but unfortunately we fell just a few short. So maybe next year, well, the next year will be PSPC, of course, but.
And I'm pretty sure the knock-on effect of that will mean that the field in the main event will cross the 2K mark. It's still more than last year, still the biggest main event ever. Granted, if we look at unique entries, 2016 still holds the record for that. But a 9.6 million euro prize pool is not to be sneezed at. The top prize of 1.66 million that will be paid out on Sunday. So, it is always coming 7. Alenka flops a set. The gut shot for Carmo.
We will probably get some value here because Carmo might peel one with the backdoor, with a gut shot and backdoor flush draw.
I guess so.
It's a very small bet. Now you'll definitely get some action. I think it's time to bet a little bit bigger. If Carmo has an ace, for example, you need to get some more value here. He's not going to fold if you bet half pot, for example.
Yeah, 78k induces a fold. Well, you mentioned, Lord, that the PSPC is back. It will be here in Barcelona next year, and many people are asking, how can I get my hands on one of those platinum passes, those packages, free entry to next year's PSPC? Well, there is a promotion running on PokerStars right now that you should know about. Ramon got it in with the best hand, ace-5. He paired his ace on the flop. And a 5 on the river, the platinum pass winner takes down the PSPC.
Congratulations.
Juega ahora y tendrás la oportunidad de ganar un Platinum Pass y unirte a mí en el PSPC 2020.
And I'm sure someone will correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure that 2 passes have been revealed already, which means there are 3 still to be found in chests on Stars. And yes, the PokerStars Players No Limit Hold'em Championship will be held here at Casino Barcelona next summer. And there will be plenty of chances. This is just the first opportunity, but many more to come to win a Platinum Pass for next year's Players Championship.
I was standing next to the table when you announced that there were going to be 5 extra Platinum Passes on to the players who didn't win that promotion. And particularly, I'm sorry that I forgot his name, but the Spanish guy,
Adrian, yeah.
he was so disappointed that he lost the heads up, and his face when he understood that he got the Platinum Pass, I mean, that's one of the best things I've seen in poker for a long time.
So heading into the last 18 minutes of this level with 62 players remaining.
Seems like he had 7s just now.
7s, they are always coming, even when they're fading out. Oh my God. The ghost graphics have been switched on.
It's the ghosts of his former pair of 7s.
Chris, you sure you're not leaning against that handle on the mixer again? Pocket 5s for Tim Adams.
Oh, 7-5 flop one time. Oh, squeeze coming with the value hand. Oh, that's a hefty. That's like a 33 big blind all in. I'd be surprised if anyone calls this. I mean, if you have a pair and you suspect ace king because of such a big raise, perhaps, but I'm sure that he will do it with other hands also.
Sure enough, shove gets through. As you were asking about free rolls, today's free roll has come and gone. There'll be another one tomorrow, offering $1,000 in WCOOP tickets. You have to be watching the stream. You'll only have 15 minutes to register when we reveal the name and password. So I suggest you watch the whole day's stream, starting at 12:30 local time. So Odeen has opened the button with King 10. Alenka with 10-8, a dominated hand in the big blind.
These days at least, the standard call in the big blind anyway. When I say these days, I mean not 2005.
Queen 6-5. Odeen continuing with the best hand. And Alenka folds. I'm sure there's a lot of people watching Baard who aspire to play poker professionally. As someone who's been there, seen it, done it, is it overrated?
No, it's not really. I mean, I enjoyed it. It's fun. You get to, particularly if you play the live, you play tournaments, you get to see a lot of very good places, very interesting places. And if you spend a few extra days, you don't always only see the inside of the casino either. So, I mean, I think as with everything, you should proceed carefully. And even if you make a big score at the beginning of your career, don't go overboard. I've seen many cases where people have become poker millionaires and haven't retained that status very long. So I think that if you are, people say that it's very difficult. Sure, it's a lot more difficult now than it was back when I was playing. But the thing is that there's always room for improvement. Someone has to be the best, and if you are talented and dedicated and not afraid to work hard on the game, there's no reason why you shouldn't be successful. However, I would be very hesitant about putting all my eggs in that basket immediately. Make sure that you have other things in your life and that you have other options in case it shouldn't work out. And don't be afraid to take the long view. I mean, if you look at the top players, they've been around for a very long time, and that's because they've been well, in most cases, been playing within the bankrolls. They have sought improvement wherever they could find it, and been very disciplined, and that's what it takes. And there's a lot of those players now, so if you're gonna make it to the top, you really need to be focused.
We're not used to this. We're not used to this card. So
stay the course. But I mean, it's a great thing, and even though I didn't make it for very long, I still enjoy the game very much. I will say that I play quite a few MTTs, and I'm a winning player there. I play PLO cash games, and at least the regulars, they don't come chasing after me, so I'm thinking that maybe I'm break even at least there. But I just think that it has given me a lot of opportunities. I mean, if it hadn't been for me being a professional poker player before, I would never got my job in PokerStars 8.5 years ago, and I would never been able to meet all the amazing people there, and also have a very enjoyable job and career in general, because I get to work with poker every day, and I mean, it shows hell beats insurance, right?
So this was an early position raise from chip leader Jerry Odeen. Sergei Reishek has called with King 10 suited, and now the all-in from the short stack.
4 greens.
Simon Mattsson all in with ace queen.
Almost 8.
Thank you.
I mean, he has the pot odds to call, but he has the guy behind him also, which he has to consider. So I think, yeah, King 10 will call in this spot. So.
Fair fight.
But now, if he wins, right, he will all of a sudden be at almost 33 big blinds. Then that's good. Good comeback. No, sorry, 23 big blinds.
Is it fair fight?
It is fair.
Looking pretty good.
And imagine he was 2% or 98% sure of being eliminated not long ago.
Just has to fade a king on the river.
Well, he's definitely back in it.
Absolutely. 22 bigs.
I
Although
mean,
the blinds are going to go up
yeah.
in 8 minutes' time.
Imagine if he came back to win the tournament now. You never hear the end of it from Stapes.
It would prove his theory correct.
The Stapes theorem.
That just sounds so wrong on so many levels. So we have 60 players remaining now, including the 8 players we're watching right now on our feature table.
And only 7.5 minutes to avoid the chop pot.
Ah, was that what you were hoping for? You came in here, thought, I'm going to be in there for an hour and a half. There's bound to be a chop pot, and I will get to sing to the world.
I think the world is not ready for that. No, it's more in terms of actually avoiding it.
Well, the good news for you is if it does happen, and I do force you into joining in, you can't butcher it any worse than most of the pro players we've had as guests.
Oh.
From Spraggy to Fenton-Hand to Igor Kurganov.
I can't imagine Igor singing anything.
He tried. Emphasis on the word try.
No, I'm so low. I'm short. I need a cushion. Need a cushion.
So an Odeen open and an Alenkart 3-bet. A shove. 32 big blinds.
Yeah, this has become more and more popular in the, I'd say, from my limited experience, maybe last couple of years, that I mean, I would start thinking about reshoving at 20 big blinds or something before, but now like 30, 35 big blinds they do it. And yeah, I mean, someone had the calculator out and found that it was a good thing.
So we are heading to one of the outer tables, and that looks like Harry Lodge. And it looks like he's facing a big decision.
Overpair or a set? You have an overpair or a set?
What do you have?
I'll be the overpair part, but not
You
the
have
set.
an overpair or
Yeah, I have overpair. You have one too?
So basically, Joe Murwad has moved all in for 432k. Lodge is deciding whether to call. His hand on the turn, by the way.
You have queens too? Again?
Lodge has announced the overpair.
The board is 8-6-5 tray. He's played at least one, if not two, time bank cards. A single chip call.
That's an overpair, yeah.
Ah, but 6-5 is two pair. Ace is cracked. And
they
that
stayed correct, yeah.
is a huge double up for Joe Murwad, not to be confused with Joseph Murwad, who won EPT London back in 2007. And Harry Lodge is going to be short now. He's going to have 240k.
I think we've seen two aces while I've been on, and they've been cracked, both of them.
We've seen a lot of aces today. I mean, during the first couple of levels, aces 5 or 6 times at the feature table. And on, I want to say, at least 2, if not 3 of those occasions, aces flop top set.
So I turned that around then.
Well, back at the feature table, action's on at Leandro Bustillo with ace-jack. And Tim Adams has ace-king.
This is kind of a difficult hand for ace-jack because racing from the cutoff and the dealer 3 bets, you know, you kind of feel like he's going to be bluffing quite a lot of the time, and that ace-jack is a good hand, but it's very difficult to find out with any certainty without investing a lot of chips, and then it's too late.
And with 4?
The thing is, if he calls also, it's such a bad hand to play out of position. You never know. It's very difficult to know where you are at when the flop comes. And I think most players would. Some players would try like 4-bet if maybe it's 4-bet to something like 250,000 and fold to a shove, but. I think the alternative is a call. Oh, sorry, fold.
Oh, Bastia responds with a 4-bet.
That's what I said.
Re-raises.
I said 4-bet around 250,000, fold to a shove.
Okay.
I mean, about to get this right once. In the last minute of the level also.
Just expected a fold, to be honest. There's the shove from Tim Adams. And the fold from Bastillo. You predicted correctly.
It had to happen sometimes.
With just 27 seconds left on the clock.
I left it
before
late, but good.
the end of this level. Well, we are actually going to step away from this table. Tim Adams up to 1.5 million. We're going to go back to the outer table that we just were witnessing a moment ago, where Harry Lodge had aces cracked, because we've got two Brits in action. Harry Lodge is one of them. The other is Cully Sadu. And Harry Lodge has effectively moved all in. He's left himself 1K behind. Sadu has called. And the flop is ace-9-5. Sadu puts Lodge all in. Let's table them. Ace-jack for Cully Sadu. And it's ace-6 for Harry Lodge.
We did flush draw.
Did not hit on the river, and Harry Lodge is eliminated as we come to the end of the level. Lodge cashing out for 20,340 euros. And there is still a hand in progress on the main stage. Looks like the rest of the room is going to be going on break, but we're going to play this to its conclusion. It's Robert Hydorn and Sergei Rychak. So it was an under-the-gun raise to 35,000 with the King-Jack of Hearts, called by Hydorn in the big blind with 4-3. Top pair against an open-ended straight draw and a backdoor flush draw. And a continuation bet of 30,000 into 94,000.
Probably just a call, would you say? I mean, some people might try to check raise, but you like that equity. You like to try to hit it.
130?
Well, okay, I should have stopped when I was good.
That was a classic. Why couldn't the break have hit?
Yeah.
Just 2 minutes earlier. Yeah, the check raise to 130,000.
Of course, if the 2 of hearts comes to something now, it's going to be very difficult to come and get away from.
So Rychak now with second pair. Hydorn still with the straight draw. Would have been happier if that was the Queen of Diamonds. Hydorn checks. Check, check, and Hydorn catches a small piece on the river. Oh, wow. Hydorn bluffs the river and bluffs big. It's all into call for Rijak.
It's kind of a strange, I mean, from Rijak's point of view, it's kind of a strange line, because if Hydorn had a set or something similar, he wouldn't have checked the turn, because there's so many draws out there. So I'm sure that he feels like there's something that doesn't make sense there, but I have stopped making predictions.
Can he find a call?
I mean, it could be that Hydorn tries to rep 7-8 some form, right? Maybe just 7-8 that wasn't a flush draw or something, because if he had 7-8 of clubs, he would probably just shove the turn instead. It feels like that's one of the few hands that could have played it this way.
He folds the best hand, the bluff gets through.
Watch TV.
Watch TV.
Not going to tell him.
Nope.
And we are going to roll into the break. My thanks to Baard Dahl, Head of Game Integrity for PokerStars.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It was a pleasure.
Not at all. So we'll continue to watch these 8 guys at the feature table. When we go to the next level, blinds will be up to 10,000, 20,000 with a 20K big blind ante. One more level to play on day 3 of the Barcelona leg of the PokerStars European Poker Tour. Back to the feature table, where Michael Mizraki is under the gun with pocket 4s. He raises to 2,600.
Grinder, having gone through the motion of looking at his cards, raises.
Action folded around to Andoni Larabe, who's got 10s.
7.
He's 3-betting.
Lol if he thinks Grinder folds to 3-bets. Also, he's got a 3-bet bigger. You gotta punish the guy who always calls the 3-bets.
Castrillon in the cutoff. Folds. It's Koplamar's button. He passes. Post and Playsov give up the blinds.
Michael never passes.
It's so cute how he's talking European.
Grinder calls. Heads up to the flop. Which sees Grinder flop a set.
And he's gonna lead. I love Grinder.
And he leads really small.
Not only is this bet out of flow, but it's also for fewer chips than your girlfriend steals off your plate when she says she doesn't want to order her own. You know they do that.
85.
Larabe raises.
I only like this raise if you're prepared to get it in when Grinder blasts off, because you can only be hoping he tries to bluff you with worse.
I believe that face.
There's a 3-bet to nearly 16K.
Something you did over here, I thought you were bluffing. Careful.
I don't think his English is good enough to realize what a ridiculous shtick this is.
All in, call.
Well, that escalated quickly.
That was like out of a movie and not a very good one.
Larabe at risk. And way behind.
The worst part is you knew you shouldn't have done it, and you done it anyway.
7.
Wow.
I'm not saying nothing else. You got a lot.
10 outs for Larabe. A jack 10 or 6 saves him. It's a jack.
Oh, what a waste of a perfectly terrible acting job. Like Samuel Jackson in The Phantom Menace.
Larabe up to nearly 95,000.
What's Spanish for suck out?
Grinder's taking it in his stride. Blinds are up to 800, 1,600, and we are going to pit our wits against Grinder. We're going to play a hand from the perspective of Pavel Playsov. He's raised with ace-10, and it looks like Grinder is 3-betting.
I don't want to play against Grinder. If I did, I would actually play poker.
blinds are folded. Back around to place of.
You're never folding here, right?
Not against you. Against a lot of other people, maybe. I like a just call here. Even though we're out of position, if Mike's got a bad hand, we want to let him hang himself.
Place of does call. The flop is king 4 deuce, rainbow. Place of checks.
I think we have to check call since Mike can have any too. I honestly don't know what to do, though. If he bets every street, we don't improve. That's the danger here.
Grinder's C-bet is 5,100. And there's the call from place of.
And we might have to call all the way now.
9.
How does he do this?
What is he doing?
Place of checks a second time.
Like I said, I think we have to check call again, but I really hope he doesn't bet that much.
Not too bad, 8,200.
Right, and now that has me suspicious. I like calling again here just because Mike's such a wild card and will always bet when he's got nothing and sometimes not bet when he's got something.
Place of folds.
It's harder to play somebody they call cards, right? Of course. Yeah, it's harder to play against somebody like that.
Grinder had ace-7. Place of had the best hand.
Oh, man.
Understandable fold, but if we were going to fold then, we should have folded on the flop.
How do you think I win?
Oh, I don't know, bet constantly with junk and always get there when you get called down. If you could write a book on it, it would be an all-time bestseller.
Well, the action's been folded to Pavel Placev. He folds. Do you reckon Grinder's folding?
Nope. I once saw Grinder try to raise with 2 sub-sandwich loyalty cards from under the gun.
5-3 of clubs, he makes it 3,300. Pocket 8 for Francisco Perez. He's got just over 20 big blinds.
Shove seems fine, especially over the top of Grinder.
He's all in. And he's walked into aces.
How much?
Larabe just asked how much, but what he's really thinking about is Vegas and the bleeping Mirage.
He calls.
Really hoping Grinder comes along for the ride.
Koplimar in the big blind. Folds.
Will we finally see Grinder fold? Yes!
So, Perez at risk and way behind his fellow countrymen.
It's amazing. Even though Grinder folded, he still found a way to get Perez busted, probably.
I had the best hand. Maybe after the river. Big favor. I'm big favor to win. Big favor now. 3-5 of clubs. For sure it's coming.
I wish I could say I disagree.
Perez needs an 8. The turn card is a 3.
I told you. 100%. River deuce. I saw it. God. Deuce of spades, probably. Deuce of spades.
This is absolutely rishnefulous. What is happening out there? It's Mike, this psychic Mizrachi.
Told you. Deuce of spades.
Action folded to Mikkel Nielsen, who's got aces. He raises to 80k. Andrea Dato has 8-10 suited. He folds. Ace-king suited for Panka.
Things are about to get pretty ranka for Dominic Panka. Do you know it's actually harder to get dealt ace-king suited than it is to get dealt aces? It's kind of messed up.
Here comes a 3-bet. Panka re-raises to 190,000. Kirill Radzivinou folds the small blind. Andre Letau in the big blind. Also passes. Back on Nielsen.
Folks aren't folding much in position, so I would suspect we're going to see a 4-bet.
He makes it 310,000.
4-bet's a little small, but I don't think it's going to matter.
All in.
Panka shoves.
Call.
And Nielsen calls. Panka at risk and behind.
Last time I saw a cooler this big, Rocky was punching meat in it.
Here comes the flop. 2 hearts on board.
Dominic Panka, so good.
He now has 9 outs. And that's one of them!
Me.
Yeah, that's pretty terrible.
Nielsen's not drawing dead. With an ace or 6 on the river, he'll make a full house. No.
Must be nice.
That hand was the worst thing to happen to a Nielsen since Dracula Dead and Loving It.
Dominic Panka doubles up to over 2.6 million. Mikael Nielsen down to 1.6 million. Dominic Panka, who did the dirty on Nielsen, has ace queen of diamonds.
Hope you're happy with yourself, Panka.
He raises to 100k.
Probably gonna crack aces again with this hand.
Radziva now folds. Latau is out. Gerald Karlik in the small blind has ace king of clubs.
Like a good ratatouille, it's time to throw a little garlic in this pot.
This is a 3-bet to 260,000. Popov folds the big blind. It's back on Panka.
He's not folding.
He shoves.
Makes sense.
And gets called.
Once again, this is just kind of coolery. Can Dominic deliver another brutal suck out?
Karlik is officially the player at risk. Well, that's a fine and dandy flop for his ace king. He's set for a double up here. Dominic Panka only has 2 outs. Karlik just has to fade a queen on the river. Oh, it's a queen!
Dominic Panka not making a lot of friends today. Karlik and Nielsen are gonna start a support group.
He does it again! Another brutal suck out.
Good luck.
And this one sends Gerald Karlik to the rail in 18th place.
I feel so bad I can't even do another garlic pun. Stinks.
Hello everyone, welcome to the PokerStars Players No Limit Hold'em Championship.
They fly me out to the Bahamas. I got a chance at millions.
I wound up here because I won an online tournament. Unbelievable.
Being part of the event was a life-changing experience.
To cash. It's been amazing. Best time of my life.
It was a dream.
There is this great community. My life is never going to be the same again.
Ganarlo esto ya no me lo pensaba.
The biggest 25k event in poker history.
This is the moment you've all been waiting for. Let's shuffle up and
Welcome to Barcelona.
This is wake up in the morning going, oh my God, type of drink.
When I won the pass, best moment of my life.
The Platinum Pass winner takes down the championship. $5.1 million.
I feel like every poker player has a tournament with their name on it.
Welcome back to Barcelona and the PokerStars European Poker Tour. So here we are on day 3 of the Barcelona main event. with just one more level to play today. 57 return from the last break of the day. We will play 90 more minutes, and then everyone left will bag and tag and come back for day 4. I am James Hartigan alongside Joe Stapleton.
Hello, my babies.
And we are keeping the same feature table for the last level of the day. And these are the top 5 stacks right now. Simon Brandstrom has retaken the chip lead. He's moved over the 3 million mark. Jerry Odeen, who's at our feature table, is second in chips, followed by Rui Sousa, Johnny Nedved, and Shannon Shorr. All these guys have more than 2.2 million.
A lot of Swedes going deep in this event. Very suspect.
Odeen headlines the main stage. We've also got Timothy Adams, who's also got a lot of chips, 76 bigs. And Simon Mattsson, who took a huge dent during the last levels, managed to get himself back up to 18 big blinds, but is still the player at immediate risk. So as we restart the action, it'll be level 22 with the blinds at 10,000, 20,000 with a 20K ante, and we're thrilled to be joined by Benjamin Spraggy Spragg. Spraggy, how did the Tetford Rovers perform tonight?
The less said about the Tetford Rovers this evening, the better, James, but good to be here. Good evening.
What would it take to get you to change the name of your Tetbury Town soccer team to the Tetford Wi-Fi Steelers?
The Tetford Wi-Fi Steelers?
I feel like we should update team names to things that are more relevant to what happens. And there's no more Rovers, but there are people that like to leech off Wi-Fi leeches. How about that?
Pierogas?
Bags of cash, Joe. You can't just eradicate 100 years of history. There's tradition to see.
That's what they said about, well, I'm not going to go there. So happy to have Alan Allencar back at our feature table. Please tell me this guy's name is Mats Mattsson. No!
Simon.
Simon says no.
Now, we have got Leandro Bustillo, and suffice to say, Joe, everyone is very excited about the prospect of you being in the booth at the point this guy loses all of his chips.
You mean Simon Bustillo? Kind of writes itself, doesn't it?
Timothy Adams opening here with 9-7 of spades. And Jerry Odeen, who in 2 consecutive hands added 2 million to his stack during the last level, has King Jack of Diamonds.
Jerry Odeen, that again, suspect. Shouldn't that be an Irish flag? These guys are all mixed up. How you doing this one, buddy? Right.
Ryzak, Joe.
Ryzak, he's all in.
That works.
Well done, Spraggy. Good job.
Thank you, James.
I'm 20, I think.
All in at 420. Hey-o. Gets it through.
Job done for Ryzak.
So Spraggy, clear something up for me, if you will. Which is Spraggy your last name or your nickname?
Spraggy is technically a nickname. Joe, let me just ask you a quick question.
Yeah.
What is my first name?
Benjamin.
That is correct. Now, I ask you that because Lex Veldhuis, I was on Team Pro for about 9 months. And Lex
Hold on a second, Team Online, let's be. Come on.
Team Pro Online.
Okay, all right, we'll compromise. Team Pro Online.
Anyway, so Lex knew me for about 9 months, and we started speaking pretty much every day, pretty reasonably good friends. And he didn't know that I was called Ben. He thought I was like Madonna or Cher, and that I only had one name. And that name was Spraggy, of course. But my name is Ben Spragg.
Oh, I thought your name was Ben Spraggy, and that Spragg was the nickname.
No, so Spragg is my name, and Spraggy is the nickname. But I think people at PokerStars might think I'm called Ben Spraggy as well, because when I went to the airport, the guy holding the board it's always been Spraggy. So maybe there's been a mix-up somewhere.
Yeah, that's. I mean, it's better than. I think people at PokerStars think my name will no longer be needing your services. Thank you. That's what most of our correspondence says.
Don't
We're
call
going.
us, we'll call you.
Yeah, exactly. Heads up to this flop, 6-4. Catches a piece, and a pretty big piece on this 8-8-6 board. Odeen was the raiser. Blinds at 10,000, 20,000 with a 20,000 ante. That's how many players have gone broke in this tournament, how deep into it we are. Level 22.
I think Alan Carr's still deep enough here that his hand doesn't need to be played necessarily for a raise or an all-in. He's got a little bit of wiggle room, so opting just to call on the flop seems like a smart choice.
Dicey little 10 of hearts on the turn. This is a hand that sometimes put Odeen out in front.
This is one of those where your most straightforward decision is always going to be on the flop, and the hand is naturally going to get more difficult to play as the streets develop, because there are very few good runouts for your hand, as you can see here. Although the ace-jack hasn't taken the lead, the king or indeed the 10 is going to be a card that hits Odeen fairly frequently.
I just saw these aren't the droids you're looking for, wave of the hand from Alan Carr, which sometimes indicates all in, but I guess that wasn't the case. Just a little blocker bet we're about to see, Spraggy?
I mean,
Not little.
That's what I expected, but the sizing's really big, so I really don't know what he's trying to achieve here, because if Odeen has indeed got a hand like ace-king or king-queen or king-jack that chooses not to bet the turn, he's certainly going to pick this off. I don't think the bet is ever getting a worse hand to call, or indeed a better one to fold, really. In this instance, it's just going to fold out the ace-high. Alan Carr had the best hand anyway, and chips the pot.
Looks like what he has achieved is an erection of a larger chip stack.
Yes, yes, his chip stack is swelling.
Girona is like 1 hour from here.
East or west?
It's north.
Oh, north.
Northeast.
Action continues here in the final level of day 3. The business end, or as I like to call it, the butt end. You guys can have that one.
Who had 4 minutes?
4 minutes?
Into the commentary today, into our stretch together.
Before I said the word butt?
Yeah.
It's a funny word.
We've had erection and butt.
I was talking about, wait, what? Oh my God, I didn't even realize that could have been taken 2 different ways.
Jack 10 raising in the cutoff for Hydorn. Jack 10 of hearts.
Barcelona, France.
Beautiful looking hand.
Hydorn is Finkel. Finkel is Hydorn.
Sorry? You live there or you live?
Yeah, I live between UK and...
Yeah, and I didn't even remember that his name was Oliveira as well, so my bad as well.
Okay.
I don't usually call him by that name.
No, okay.
So, yeah, but it's Phillips, yeah.
Okay.
I have a feeling we may have some downtime during this last level. I think play may slow down a little bit. Folks want to get into day 4, so let's do an AMA for Spraggy. Twitch.
Spraggy AMA asked me almost anything.
Yeah, I think it's weird when it's another one of those words that people misuse quite a bit, like the word humbled.
I understand. Yeah.
People say AMA, but they pick and choose what questions they're going to answer. If it's an AMA, you got to throw another A in there like Spraggy did. I'm big on accuracy.
And that's a little protection for myself. That's what that is.
Sure.
That's just putting in a little barrier there, Joe. An opt-out clause, if you will.
Okay, we've got one from Chris from Australia. Do you get annoyed when people don't know you? Oh, do you get annoyed if people who don't know you call you Spraggy?
No. I'm just happy that they recognize me in any capacity. My growing irrelevance is what bothers me more.
Call me whatever you want as long as you call me, baby.
Ain't that the truth?
All right, we've gone heads up. More AMA for Spraggy. More hard-hitting questions like that one after this hand.
Is this polarized poker, is it Portuguese?
And Brazilian, kind of.
And, oh, okay.
It's mainly
So we're
Portuguese.
check on the flop. This is certainly a board that's going to favorite Bustillo. He's going to have more 4x in his range from the big blind. Probably more straights too. He'll defend 5-3 and 5-8, whereas Ryzak most likely doesn't raise with them. We can see, of course, he's got the best hand. He's going to make a very small value bet and pick up the pot.
Here's a question for you, Spraggy. Yo, Spraggy rules.
That is a great point, well made.
Oh, there was no question mark on that, so I guess.
It's undeniable. That's why.
Especially Vegas and Miami, I don't like either of them.
Can I answer the question, how is Billy Wright? We've had that a few times. Billy Wright is fine. That's, for those of you who might not be familiar with Billy Wright, he is my adopted cat and only
As
friend.
opposed to your natural-born cat.
Yes, yes. He's not my biological cat. But, I treat him as one of my own.
For poker, I prefer at least Vegas than Los Angeles, for example. LA for the casino. I mean, Vegas, if you rent a house and you do the right thing, I couldn't be there, like in a hotel, like more than a week.
I did this year. I said no alcohol, no party, no women. I just grind, and it worked pretty well, so it's good.
But you were staying in a house, or?
Like a condominium, like the Flamingo Palms villas. It's not very good though because they break in everywhere. Like they break into the apartments sometimes, so it's not very safe. Take your laptop, it's pretty shitty.
We'll get back to the AMA as soon as chat at the table dies down.
I think the smart move is to rent a house between 3 or 4 people and rent a car.
I like to walk though, like from Flamingo to Rio, you can walk. I don't like to drive every day, like back and forth.
This hand is Adams versus
Rio to stay.
Bustillo.
Yep, and a raise from Adams from the big blind. He has a very unplayable hand, so a lot of players will recommend raising this rather than checking and taking a flop. Your opponent is still going to limp some hands from the small blind that you can force a fold. Bustillo with a pretty robust ace-deuce. Flops top pair. Of course, got to be ready for a lot of aggression in blindy blind situations. Both players going to be battling hard for this pot.
Hard. $45,000 to bet from Adams. Little does he know, he's walking face first into top pair.
No reason for Bustillo to raise. I think he's got a decent bluff catcher, but not really a hand that wants to start generating a bigger pot just yet. His ambition, I suppose, is to try and call down and bluff catch. The club on the turn, not such a bad card either. He has the ace of clubs in his hand, the nut flush draw.
Adams picks up a pair as well as a very decent flush draw.
I wonder if this is just going to be enough for him to want to try and take it to showdown, Joe. Maybe slows his bluff up a little bit.
I would say for sure, if it's not a club, for sure.
Right?
Yeah, if it's not a club, he slows down for sure. But yeah, it looks like he sees an opportunity here to bluff slash semi-bluff. And fires pretty big. way more than half pot. And this is a significant chunk of Bastillo's stack. He could very well just decide to put the rest in.
I think given the fact that he has the aces of clubs in his hand, he's more incentivized to call right. There's really no bad rivers for his hand at all. And if Adams is on a complete airball, like let's say he has 5-6, or even a hand like he has,
like 10-3, yeah.
Yeah, Bastillo is just way ahead. There's really not many ways that Adams can catch up.
Adams does not catch up. Bastillo checks.
Only 345,000 behind. Bastillo definitely going to get here still with some 9s, some 8s. That might have had a hand like 10-9 with one club. The peel again. See if he wants to fire out that third barrel.
Adams
checks down.
Yep. Checks it. And Bastillo is going to win himself a nice pot. Chips up over 300,000 courtesy of Timothy Adams. Timothy's still up over $1 million in chips. That equates to 58 big blinds. He is second in chips at this table. Jerry Odeen has more than double his chips.
Inside, I was like.
Yep, there's the 1.185 for Tim Adams. And as long as the chat dies down. Oh, wait a second. Outer table action. Griffin Benger pre-flop makes it 225,000, leaving himself 25K behind. And this is Raihor Carapano. Calls. And looks like we're waiting on the blinds to act. An important thing to note here, we are on a pay jump, which could explain why things are moving a little slowly. Next player out gets less than the 25,000 for the player after that. And we are going heads up to the flop, which is Queen 5-4, 2 hearts. Action on Griffin. Griffin's got one time bank chip left. And he is going to use it. Checks finally. And Griffin has now been put all in. Oh, I see. Checked before, right before he had to use that time bank chip. Still has it. One of the drawbacks of having the time bank chip is that you can, they're there for you to use in situations whenever you choose. And there it goes. Which I assume means Griffin is going to be all in.
It looks to me as if he just keeps checking over onto the tournament clock, right? Seeing the field, and as you mentioned, that pay jump, maybe seeing where everything's at.
But I don't see why he would use the time bank if he wasn't planning on being all in. 10 seconds left. And he is all in. Carapano shows jacks. Griffin has got king 10. He does not catch. And it looks like Griffin is eliminated, does not make the pay jump. He'll be the last player to make 20,340 euro. Everyone else now guaranteed a payday of over 25,000. Good run for our boy Griffin Benger. Another AMA for Spraggy here. Spraggy, did you get your STI application in on time? Oh, sorry, did you get your PPI application in on time? The deadline was today.
All done, all taken care of.
Excellent.
All clear on that, thank you.
I got a question here, Spraggy, from Puma. Puma asks, do you prefer a centaur or a minotaur?
I'm more of a centaur kind of guy, Joe. So the minotaur is, I believe, like a bovine top.
Minotaur is half bull, half man. Top is a bull.
The top is a bull, the bottom is a man. Whereas a centaur, I believe the top is a man, the bottom is some sort of quadrupedal beast.
The centaur, yes, the bottom is a horse and the top is a man.
Yeah, for me, it's centaurs or nothing. I have no time for the
He's all in on centaurs, much like Hydorn, who has flopped trip 10s and is unlikely to be going anywhere in this pot. Carmo wants to do a little flirting, I think, before he makes the fold.
So when you're defending a lot of hands in the big blind, you have to make sure that you're not folding too many of them. If you're just calling in the big blind and then giving up on every flop when you don't, directly connect, then it's going to be very profitable for your opponent to raise and continuation bet. So maybe thinking that with the king of clubs in his hand and a king high, he's considering appeal for the small sizing. If it gets out of the way and Hydorn's trips, unfortunately for him, will get no more action.
Well analyzed there, Spraggy. Spraggy, Luke wants to know, do you say pop, soda, or soda pop? What do you call carbonated beverages?
Fizzy drinks.
Fizzy drink. Come on, England, guys, England.
Fizzy drinks. I'm done with fizzy drinks, though, Joe. I don't really drink fizzy drinks anymore.
I really love soda, like a lot. I would drink soda all the live long day if it wasn't so horrific for you. More AMAA with Benjamin Spraggy Sprag after this hand.
9-8 offsuit for Carmo, 21 big blinds. A little bit too deep to consider playing push fold with this hand, but he's going to try and take a flop. Comes in for the call. We've quite a similar spot here, Joe, with the Jack Deuce off, as we just saw Timothy Adams with the 10-3 offsuit. Jack Deuce offsuit, certainly another hand that some players will opt to raise just because it plays so poorly. We see Hydorn act in the more passive sense here, takes a flop.
Carmo hits a pair. When I have Jack Deuce, I'm like, why couldn't you have just raised so I could just fold it? Now I have to like see a flop and maybe make more mistakes.
Now you've got the danger of the marginal situations.
Oh boy.
Like this one.
Oh boy. Hydorn gets there.
All jokes aside, that's kind of what you have to do to win an EPT or to compete at this level against tough players, is when you get into these situations, it's all very well, everybody knows how to play aces, everybody knows how to play kings, but these are the ones where you could really push an edge or stretch out extra chips, or indeed, as you said, give them up or lose them. So these little spots, these are the ones that matter.
These are spots where I like to, what I call CCP, check, call, pray.
Well, Heidhorn's prayers go unanswered. He's still behind. Kamo can't be loving this river either. Heidhorn gonna certainly still have some aces in his range for a check back and a call on the turn. Heidhorn perhaps just deciding whether his hand has enough showdown value to check behind it and hope to table a winner, or whether he needs to try and bluff Kamo off something like an 8, maybe even a 10. He opts for the showdown. It won't be good. Kamo takes it.
I forget who said it, but they had a good question for you, Spraggy, which is what are some of your favorite books other than Stars Bet?
I don't read.
Ooh.
I don't believe in reading.
Controversial.
Yes, I know that's quite...
What are your some of your favorite movies based on books?
Doom. Oh, that's based on a video game. But a seminal film of the last 20 years, starring Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, of course.
And Carl Urban.
Right.
That's pretty much
Spraggy, you're not going to believe this, but I went to the world premiere of Doom.
Wow.
In Los Angeles at Universal Studios. And I won't say whether or not the movie was good or bad, but I'll say this. The Rock did not go to the premiere party.
And I think that tells us all we need to know about the movie adaptation of Doom. And the fact that Joe got invited as well. The Rock didn't go and Joe did.
At The Rock's place.
Well, who can we get?
They went all the way down the list of 4,000 names.
Joe Stapleton?
I actually thought they were inviting Gene Stapleton of All in the Family fame.
Tens for Timothy Adams. He's raising, and Kamo calling on the button with a king-queen. We're off to a flop. It's 5-5 deuce. Adams still with the best hand. A couple of our members of Twitch chat are defending the indefensible, Joe.
I actually didn't mind the movie all that much.
The movie was all right. I enjoyed it. Wow.
It was kind of like a Tarantino movie in that there was a whole lot of build-up for like 5 really good minutes.
Quick fold from Kamo. Adams betting 80,000 and getting the job done with a pair of 10s.
He comes and goes. Real treat getting to see Timothy Adams play. Part of that elite super high roller crowd. Guy knows what he's doing. Pay attention, kids.
Yeah, we've a pretty strong lineup here, actually. Matson as well, top player.
Action is on Matson, under the gun, ace-7 of hearts.
Interested to see what he does here. He's fairly short stacked, around 15.5 big blinds to start the hand. He's going to try and come in for the steal with the ace-7 of hearts, raising it up to 40,000.
And he is going to meet some resistance from Jerry Odeen. Swede on Swede. Something I'm used to watching very much on the internet, just not usually in the form of poker.
Big cooking channel fan is Joe.
Love cooking, love meatballs, as well as lingonberry jam. And speaking of jam.
Playing 3 total? 310?
we may see that particular action.
So this just became a very interesting hand, Joe, because Heidhorn has to think about Odeen's range here and how often he might be light, because he's 3-betting Matson, who's opening off 15 big blinds. So when Odeen 3-bets, there's really no room for him to 3-bet and fold to Matson's shove. I think that's inherently going to make Odeen's range a little bit stronger. So Heidhorn definitely considering that, and now deciding that his ace-king is good enough for a 4-bet all-in. And likewise, that same thought process has to come back to Odeen now, who knows that Heidhorn probably realizes he isn't light, and he's still 4-betting all in. How does that leave his jacks?
Well, Heidhorn has fewer than 1 million chips to start the hand. Odeen had 2.5 million. More than 2.5 million, excuse me, over 3 million. No. He has 2.5 million after this re-raise. And
time bank played.
Thank you, Ben. So as Spraggy just sort of much more eloquently put it than I will here, Odeen wrestling with the fact that flipping is going to be best case scenario here.
You get extra time for that.
And eventually does make the fold.
Yeah, lays it down. But a really interesting situation, Joe. So let's think about, let's say if Matson under the gun had 40 big blinds.
Yeah.
Then that means that sometimes Odeen is going to 3-bet him a little bit lighter, which maybe means that the 4-bet can sometimes be a bit lighter as well. But when he's 3-betting what's probably a pure value range, because he's 3-betting it against Matson's short stack, that means that the 4-bet itself is going to be that much stronger. And I think that's why we see him fold the jacks, whereas otherwise he might have called.
And because ace-king is blocking aces and kings, that you can make that 4-bet there and be a little more confident that you are up against jacks or queens, or
yeah,
ace
I
queen
think
or another
ace
ace
king is just a hand that it's too strong, right? It's like right at the top of the hand rankings, and as you say, you're blocking aces and kings, so it does make it a little bit more likely it's going to be jacks or queens, maybe even tens. He might decide to 3-bet tens and play for stacks against the 16 big blind open. So yeah, ace king's always going to be doing about okay, unless it's, you know, the nightmare situation.
Unless it's because blockers don't matter and someone has aces or kings. Actions folded around to Ryshak. Raising, queen 10 on the button, and it gets through. All right, let's see. Someone keeps asking this question during our AMAA of Ben Spraggy Sprag. Oh, but first we got to plug some stuff, Ben. The Galactic Series is the special sort of WCOOP substitute for folks in France, Portugal, and Spain. It runs September 1st to the 23rd, and guess what? It blows away WCOOP in terms of sheer events. The number of events, $15 million guaranteed prize money, 250, sorry, I said dollars, I meant euros, 250 euros main event, over 250 events in the Galactic Series. Take that, WCOOP.
Just making sure.
I'm sorry, I missed that.
Part of the life.
Yeah.
But don't do it again. But don't do it again.
Spraggy, someone wants to know, do you play chess?
I have played chess. but I'm not good at chess, nor I have the time and commitment to get good at chess.
I have no idea. I bet the small on the turn. And 3? Yeah.
But I know lots of the
thought you were
chess
good at
community
this.
on Twitch, and it's a very popular game. I enjoy it, but I just don't fully understand it.
Again.
Kind of like No Limit Hold'em.
Yeah, I look at some of the chess discussions that are going on, and I'm like, no, I'll never get this. This is not for me.
Well, actually, through Twitch, I've become somewhat friendly with Hikaru Nakamura, who plays a lot of speed chess here on Twitch, and he's unbelievable. It's enjoyable to watch just because I think watching anyone do anything at the top level is entertaining, but I really don't understand a lot of what's going on.
Rodrigo Carmo. Ace-10 suited. Nope. Makes it 40,000. 40,000. That's a great question, Rassi. Unfortunately, we got a hand shaping up over here.
Yep, ace-queen for Matson in a very short stack, shortened by his raise with ace-7, getting punished. He does find the shove now from just 11 big blinds.
Good 20.
Rude Boy on Twitch real quick asking, are there any big names yet left? Yes, there are. Thank you for your question. Back to the action. Carmo, 180,000 to call. Makes the call. He is dominated.
Bad news.
Yep, priced in for this one, Joe. Can't get away from the ace-10, just 11 big blinds, but he's now finds himself in a 490,000 chip pot, which, as you can see, he only has 235,000 behind himself. It is Matson's tournament life on the line, though. His ace-queen ahead right now.
Queen on the flop is pretty much going to lock this up for Matson.
As clean as it gets.
And there are
opportunities.
Some opportunities now. Hello? No
Close.
chop.
It's 220, right?
Matson doubles up. Survival of the fittest for C. Darwin.
Great to see Matson doubling up, one of the top online players in the world, and that's exactly the sort of player that we want to sweat and learn from and enjoy here at our feature table from EPT Barcelona. Isn't that right, Joe?
I'm enjoying it. Almost as much as you enjoy a centaur.
I'm a man of very niche tastes.
No.
Mocktail Poker
70.
says, that's C. Darwin.
30.
Damn, isn't what I pictured. What were you picturing?
Sort of longer beard, more of a 19th century look.
Black and white.
5 raise, 45,000.
Get me high, Dorn.
Huh? 10 suited. One was blinds.
He's pumping up with Queen at 10 suited, but Bastillo has got the Lady Kings.
More than 40 big blinds deep here, Joe. I don't think we're just going to see a shove or anything of that nature, but almost certainly a raise. Very good hand, queens. Really, really good. Top 5 at least.
Gets Timothy Adams out of the way. This 3-bet does. Back to Hydorn. Later. Such a waste when you do that with queens. And you're like, I could have had 10 tray.
I know, right?
I could have had any 2 cards.
That's the joy of poker, Joe. You can always have any 2 cards until you have to show them. Then they got to mean something.
Under 1 hour to go here on day 3. 53 players remain from the 1,988 who started. Mocktail Poker continuing on about Madsen. Should have guessed someone at the top of the game would have good ethics in not only poker, but personal health and everything else. He's assigning all sorts of virtues. Simon
Well,
Madsen.
I met him briefly on Tuesday. And nice guy.
What did he smell like?
Roses.
Story checks out.
Firm handshake too.
Odeen with jacks again against the open for Madsen. This time he'll only have 1 potential re-raiser to contend with in the form of Rodrigo Carmo. Cold re-raiser, I should say. He will have to contend with a re-raise from Madsen potentially. Nope, no re-raisers possible.
Show the bluff. I always have this hand. Actually, just had it.
Everyone loves pocket jacks.
Nothing.
Yeah. I think if you did a poll of like
See you soon.
live
I
poker
misclicked
players,
with you. I wanted
Jacks
to put
is definitely up there.
150. And it was like stuck.
I might have called 150.
It's the 4th
Really?
best hand.
This shot clock.
I think a lot of people actually suggest that jacks is probably easier to play than aces because, you know, you don't get overly attached to jacks. I think that's where you see a lot of people saying like jacks is their favorite hand to play or like one of the easiest hands to play.
Yeah, that's a good point. You don't get super attached to them. Alan Carr, ace-2 suited. Makes it 45K. We're going heads up to the flop after a big blind defend from Hydorn, who flops a diamond and a pair of 8s, ace and deuce. Flops nada.
Yeah, nowhere near this one. Not even close. Not even a backdoor club. Does have a fairly strong range from under the gun +1 though, so might just be firing anyway.
17, 18.
Okay.
And then I went to university and I didn't play, I played for fun.
Yeah.
But when I was 16 and stuff, I was 17.
Yeah. You from Canada or? Yeah. Did you stop because of studies, not injuries or anything?
Yeah, studies.
Yeah.
And I learned poker.
Yeah.
And then I got lazy. I mean, I play now. I still play, but
yeah,
not a high, like the men, just men.
Yeah. How popular is it in like Canada?
It's pretty popular.
Yeah.
I mean,
Growing?
yeah, it's growing.
Time to kick it on down to Outer Tablesville. Ike Haxton involved in a hand against Johnny Nedved. Got an ace, a deuce, and a 4 on the board. 2 clubs. Ike has bet 50K. Action on Nedved. Nedved folds. Look at the size of those hands.
Maybe not so many parents.
Yeah.
Time 15.
Like, that's actually the reason I didn't never start playing hockey. It's like too inconvenient, too expensive.
Of course. Driving to all these random cities.
Yeah.
You played hockey then? You played hockey then?
No, I did not.
You did not?
Because of
Okay.
too inconvenient. I played soccer.
Yeah.
Hurts to say it like that.
I know. Sorry, you can say football.
Football.
For me, it's even saying football. Sometimes I feel a little like. I don't know. Of course, you say football.
Yeah. Do you say football in Canada?
You say soccer or football.
Yeah. Okay.
But it's just it does.
But what do people think? What you mean? If they don't know, do they think you mean American football?
American football. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, just in exactly North America, just to be clear, you say soccer because people will always be like, football, like American football, and so it's just you just say soccer.
Yeah.
And then it becomes a bad habit, and then you're speaking to Europeans, and they're just like, yeah, soccer. There's like, yeah.
Rajak all in.
The word. Yeah. Cringing.
Pocket sevens for
MLS,
Alan
is that North America or is that just the USA?
Yeah. There's 3 teams from Canada.
3 teams?
3. There's Toronto, Montreal, and Vancouver, and then the rest are American. But there's recently now a Canadian Premier League. They had their first season. The quality isn't so high, but they're trying to build it because in 2026.
Sevens full.
World Cup.
No
Canada,
flipping
USA,
today.
Mexico.
Oh yeah.
First time there'll be 48 teams.
Uno.
Yeah, it is, 2026.
Right?
So.
Yeah, they increased it in the European Cup as well. 24.
Yeah.
I don't know okay, about that, but
Yeah. It just becomes watered down.
Yeah. I mean, as a Swedish fan, it's probably as good. Like it's 48, right? Because it's been, it's basically a flip. Didn't qualify like 2010, 2014, but 2018.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many good teams in Europe that I think it's fine. It's like, like the top teams.
Yeah.
Maybe
You will know. But
there's a big gap.
I wanted to put 7.5.
There's a lot of like good middling teams, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, I actually live in Finland.
Start helper.
You lived in Finland?
Finland, yeah.
Okay.
My girlfriend's Finnish.
Long day.
Yeah, in my mind, I had like 150
They've been
here.
wanting to get to the European Championship for so long, and they're not so great, but
I guess
they have some
with
decent
your
players.
work,
And
I had one more.
Do you follow Premier League?
I follow, yeah.
Have you seen this guy, Cookie?
Of course.
Yeah.
I mean, I've known about him for a long time.
It's amazing.
Had to go to sleep in the dinner break.
Found is like his team and his niche on that team.
I had drinks last night, so.
I totally checked out. Is this soccer talk?
Liquid courage,
Yeah.
you know?
Cool.
Football. Not that I care.
No, that you care. See, Darwin raised under the gun with King 9 of Hearts. Leandro Bustillo, pocket kings in the very next spot. Makes it 100,000. Timothy Adams with 7s in the very next spot. Folds. Anyone else?
Again, it's one of those, Joe, where you have C. Darwin opening off around 20 big blinds. So how often is Bustillo going to find a 3-bet fold here? How often is he going to bluff a hand like King Jack offsuit or King 9 suited or Ace 5 suited that he might use as a 3-bet bluff? How often is he going to do that when C. Darwin has just 20 big blinds? Probably not too often.
Not very often.
Yeah.
Of course. Yeah, I'm not sure if it's like.
Yeah, not like that. All like
Back to Matson. Who's very likely just going to give this a little bit of a show. And then a little bit of a fold.
Yep, one of the worst hands he's going to raise, so I think he can quite happily just let that one go. If C. Darwin does it, it's bound to be correct.
Baard Joe on Twitch asks, who is C. Darwin? C. Darwin is the player in the 7th seed. Thank you for your question.
But I'm like, oh, they're saying things for they're not.
41 minutes to go on day 3. Action on Carmo. Nah. Hi, Dorn. Milk Brawlin wants to know, can we get Spraggy to tell his best dad joke? Do you do dad jokes, Spraggy?
No, I detest dad jokes, and Milk Bralin is a regular in my stream, and he knows about my complete disdain for those type of jokes.
Sorry, Milk
so I
Bralin.
cannot.
Nice try, Lao Shay.
Although my dad actually told me a dad joke, Milk Bralin, if you want it. It's a knock-knock joke, but you have to start it.
Do you want me to start it?
You can if you'd like.
Knock, knock.
Who's there?
I don't know how the rest of this joke goes.
That's the joke. That's why they're bad jokes.
Yikes.
Yeah, it does, definitely.
I've always been kind of upset. It stayed with me my whole life that my dad walked out on us, but with jokes like that, I'm actually kind of fine with it, if that's what I could have expected.
Yeah, sick fade. Good dodge.
Ace, ace, 10 is this flop. Deuce is huge here. And if my dad had stuck around, there's no way I ever would have connected with Hossein and Sam the way I did. Hope you're watching. Proud of me, Daddy.
C-bet takes it. Isaac wins from the button with the deuces.
When does a dad joke become a dad joke? When it is apparent. Thank you, Wiggles.
Apparent that it's cripplingly unfunny.
Yeah.
That's when it becomes known as a dad joke. When you have a very poor setup and an awful punchline, and it's the sort of thing that you buy in a joke book from a pound shop.
I can't think of
1,000
any
top jokes, and then you read them all, and they're all terrible.
There's usually one or two in there that you can steal. I can't think of any literal dad jokes from my dad, like genuinely, that aren't racist.
Queen 10, all in for 185,000 chips.
You want to hear one?
Rojak with the 9-8 and the cutoff. He'll fold. Bad hand. 6-5 for Alencar. Another muck. Small blind gets out the way. Matson with the 9 deuce.
This
and
one's
round to Bastillo, who's 10-8. That's in the bin. And Carmo picks it up. All in triangle. Back into the middle with the dealer. The dealer moves the button.
There's
place to the left.
What's the only kind of geese?
And there we see Rodrigo Carmo, 235,000 chips. He's still in the tournament. He's still in this tournament, which is the EPT in Barcelona, the European Poker Tour. This is our main event.
So you're obviously a Liverpool fan.
Knock, knock.
Yeah.
51 players remain.
Yeah.
From a field of 1,988.
Is that what you're saying? I was going to say, not...
What's the difference between
50,000 chip pots start
No.
like 20K.
I've been a fan.
20K big blind
Second
answer.
time I've heard that today. If I'm a new fan, no, I've been a fan of Liverpool.
No, I
since
thought
was
you were
like
going to
10.
say that. Yeah.
how many?
That you
King
weren't.
Queen of Hearts. Unbegun +1.
How about you?
Very
You
short
support
stack
any
combo.
team?
I mean,
You see an all in here. He
I'm
shouts.
fairly neutral.
What's a German's favorite
Okay.
My parents are English from England.
All right.
My cousin was a huge Arsenal fan. So
Will
I got
you
all his
stop?
jerseys.
Carmo all in with king queen suited.
When I got older, I didn't.
Allen car
My parents
has ace-7. I don't imagine.
Palace.
Okay.
So
He'll be
I
playing.
have cousins that support them. So when I go back to England, I go to some matches with my cousins. That's nice. So I'd say maybe Crystal Palace.
Yeah.
I just like good football.
Yeah.
I like Liverpool. They're amazing football.
Play a fun form of football at least.
Pardon?
They play a fun form of football.
2 in a row for Carmo.
And just good personalities. Like I like Klopp. I like Salah.
Yeah.
I like that.
Carmo sounds like an app where you would sell your vehicle.
Oh yeah, could you put them here? I got one for you.
Need a used car to flash? Try Carmo.
I have some vouchers if you want to use them.
They don't work, I don't think.
Well, my dad.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
I don't know how much information you want to give up about that business, but if somebody wants a
Don't spill this.
good deal on a used car in Gloucestershire, where should they go?
Good TV, yeah?
I don't want to make recommendations in bad faith.
You can't do it.
45? Cheers.
Hi, Doran, with the ace-jack suit. Oh, that looks so good. Beer level. It's pretty much the only reason I want to make it to the end of the day in a poker tournament. So when I was playing at Bay 101 and Maria Ho was coaching me, I was like, it's level 3, that's beer level, right? And she's like, no, beer level is the last level of the day. And I was like, there's no way I'm making it to that.
Got to get him in early.
And I did
get ahead of the game.
Yeah, exactly.
What other leads as well?
I mean,
but you did cash, right?
Oh yeah, I cashed. I just didn't make it to beer level before having a beer.
Weird leagues.
Okay.
I follow.
You follow the Finnish league?
A little bit.
Oh, yeah?
Sometimes I follow Canadians who just play abroad.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense.
Some guys who play in Turkey.
But off again now.
Belgium.
Getting some more courage.
There's one young guy who's playing. Be careful. For Bayern Munich.
Just warning you.
He's only 18.
Okay, yeah.
He's made 7 appearances.
I will just fold this
Yeah.
24 minutes. This way I don't level 9.
Make day 4. Play it safe.
Yeah.
See Darwin back in action, queen 10 off.
What about you? Are you following? Do you follow Swedish League?
No, I actually don't. So, because people seem to think that's weird that they don't follow Swedish football. Like, not. I don't think like the level is definitely rising, but when like I started following football, it was definitely lower, like 10 years ago or 15 years ago, whatever.
Yeah.
It's rising, and like now you see like every third year or so, maybe there's a team in
Like Malmo or
Malmo has been. But no, not really. Not following really. I like it. I mean, I know who's.
Carmo hits his 9.
It's just it's too much time consumed if I start following other leagues.
Just too much.
Yeah.
Like even I used to watch Premiership a lot more, but I actually try to watch like their review show. They have this review show that I think there's some like highlights of games. I don't know, like an hour long.
Somewhat games.
Just highlights.
Yeah.
It's too much. Like
yeah.
Check on the flop. Turns of 5 of spades.
Saturdays usually like a day to commit to football for me, and then it's like Liverpool obviously plays a lot on Sundays because they highlight games on Sundays, and like I always grind Sundays, so it's basically a stop on the screen, but then it's tough to follow while you're playing online. Yeah. It's just there.
And the bet of 50,000 will be enough.
You saw Champions League group stage is.
No, I just know it was today, but.
Right.
Okay. Anything interesting? Or
Oh, got some sad news. If you are a fan of Molly Mossy, I know I am. She is out of here. Make sure you drink
Forgot I'm not allowed
plenty
to
of
look at my
water.
phone, so I can't even fucking tell you who is going to do. Just to sit here for 3 hours and not touch your phone.
Yeah.
Bostio now in the hijack, picks up the Queen Jack, just shy of 1 million chips. Invests 40,000 of them for a raise.
Odeen with Queen 7 of spades on the button. Okay. We're gonna get a little frisky in
Chips
position.
are flying.
Yeah.
I'm all in.
Uh-oh.
This is
Man,
not
what a
fun.
frustrating
You're
situation
too
for
good at
Odeen
this,
now.
bro.
It's really not too many chips.
Wow.
Only 200,000 more to call. He's going to be priced in.
I'm really good at this as well.
Yeah, but you have too good of a hand though. Like you can
It's
do
not
this.
suited. Not even suited.
Yeah.
Somebody always waking up with ace king.
Good luck.
Sweaty spot for Carmo. He is the favorite, but he is at risk. And a Queen 7 of spades can very easily bink.
I like the backdoors.
Gross.
Yeah, but I think 8 of, like, if it's Jack of spades, I'm not gonna make it. I'll take the 8 of spades.
Carmo, a huge favorite now. We will need a turn sweat. That ain't it.
That wasn't fun.
Double up Carmo.
I mean, I think you'll take it, right?
Carbo says
Every
that
time
wasn't
I'm
fun.
doing something crazy, you just wake up with a good hand, right? Such a good strategy.
Can't complain.
Yeah,
It's working out well.
Ugh, a double up. I wanted to sweat.
I did not want to sweat. I wanted good Carmo.
Hand in the cook, yeah.
Oh no.
I asked for the move, this way you can block it.
Not Sergey Reaksak. Reksak. Rorschach, not Sergey Rorschach.
There he goes.
Ben, you're one of the kids, right? You're down with the kids.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm cool.
Is there a way yet? Is there a way yet to retweet an Instagram post?
Like re-gram it, if you will.
Yeah, re-gram it.
I believe you need a third-party tool, and I believe it's called regram. Actually, I've seen people do it, Joe, but I've not done it myself.
Dedicated, I watch every single game, but like the most fun football I think is like watching like the World Cup and like, stuff like that.
Okay. But you kind of know you follow, I'm assuming, all the Swedish players and not so much? Or?
I don't know, maybe not super like dedicated, I wouldn't say no.
It's for offsuit here. for Alan Carr. He's going to raise it out of the big blind, 75,000. High on with a very playable Jack 10.
What they all say.
¿Espanhol? ¿Hablas español? ¿Hablas español?
Un poquito solamente.
Espanhol compreendo un poquito.
Ah, ok, ok. ¿De dónde eres?
Brasil.
Brasil. Yo amo Brasil.
Brasil é.
Ok, ok.
Good.
Folds the Jack 10 though. Certainly a situation where some would have defended. James Hardensall says, how old are these commentators?
No,
old enough to know better.
No, Nordeste.
As old as time itself.
Né?
No, no, no.
Timeless, some might say.
Rio. Yeah.
A parte pouco milho?
Yeah, yeah. Very good. Ipanema Beach.
I like these guys are finally opening up to each other, you know?
Beer level.
Beer level will do it.
He played for Cardiff.
The only time Spraggy ever opens up to me is when he's on beer level.
And there's like some other guy. Like there's the goalie played for the best team in Serbia. They run the Champions League. So they have some good players.
9. Look at Bustillo, huh? 6'5" suited under the gun.
Actually, like one of my teammates.
Loose, but I like it. What were you looking to regram, Joe? Was it my entire timeline?
I'm a fan of Billy Wilder.
Billy Wright?
Billy Wright, that's the one.
Thank you. Looks like we see a 3-bet from Alan Carr with the king and the jack at the small blind. I like it versus an early position open. Not a hand you want to call. Plays well for a re-raise. The blockers, 3 bets, and gets it done.
25 minutes left on the level. 49 players remain.
Kings?
Kings. Come on. Kings.
I don't know. They definitely beat Liverpool, though. I know that. I'm not sure. They did great at home, I know.
Yeah, they're back. They also qualified. They had this crazy PK in, I don't know if it's round 3 or something. They played Copenhagen.
Okay.
And they had PKs, and it was just like, you have to see the YouTube clip. It's like,
is he saying Gerard PK or
so
penalty
bad,
kicks?
And the PK spot was like all fucked up.
Yeah.
And everyone was just shooting it over the bar and stuff. And they did like full round of kickers, like the goalies had to kick. And I mean, Belgrade went through, but there's like every guy that stepped up was like almost slipping and just like hit it wide. Yeah. And then they beat Young Boys from Switzerland.
Yeah, that's Switzerland.
And yeah, now they're in their group stage. So.
Yeah. Maybe they get an easier time this time. I mean, they did well, but like stuff to get like Liverpool was like third. What do you say? Like rank. There's like ranking groups.
Right.
Yeah.
Pots or whatever.
Yeah, that was pretty ridiculous that like Liverpool got in the third one and they got second the year before.
Yeah.
So then you can draw some tough groups if the guys that go on winning it is in the third.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, some of the groups are so unbelievably soft. I think Spartak Moscow were like in Bull A or whatever you want to call it, Seed A, and their group is just like.
We have a battle of the blinds developing here.
There is some
Madsen limped, Bustillo raised, Madsen called, and Bustillo flops real good here.
It's really interesting to see Madsen, obviously a top player, with a hand like 9-7 offsuit off a very shallow stack, being quite happy to raise and call a bet from the small blind, or rather limp and call a raise from the small blind. And that's the thing, so often in these blind v blind battles, you are just up against complete airballs. Confident in his ability to navigate post-flop. He's going to have some difficulty doing so here, though. Castillo flopping top pair. Playing very trappy. Check, 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 check. And Mattsson does pair his 7. Might be a spot of trouble. Only 200,000 chips behind, so the 120k in the middle is really important to him. He's trying to show it down. Don't think he's going to be able to, though. I'd expect to see a value bet from Castillo.
What's up with calling this raise pre-flop with such a short stack?
As I said, I think it's just a product of ranges being very wide, and he knows that he's going to be able to play okay if he hits a 9 or a 7. They're fairly shallow, so he's going to be up against a wide range. If he makes a pair, he goes with it. And Castillo here, overbetting the pot at the river after checking all the way down.
Pretty sick. Puts Mattsson all in. Tournament
Yeah,
life.
he's forcing him to play for his tournament life, as you say, Joe.
Who's ever bluffing here?
Well, with the flop having checked through, maybe Mattsson will think that Castillo is more likely to bet his air. If he has it, just stab the flop and take it, or maybe stab the turn and take it. So if he is really going to check back twice with air on this board, maybe not. But maybe he checks behind a hand like King High, thinks it has some showdown value, then maybe gets the river, realizes it doesn't, makes the overbet bluff with it, and the 7 could be good. It's a really, really awkward situation. You know, when it forces one of the top online players in the world into the time bank, that it's not an easy situation to deal with. Does eventually let it go. Castillo's trap unsuccessful. Mattsson manages to get away from his river 7, but he's down to just 10 big blinds now at this feature table.
How many do you want?
Buto.
That was confusing.
Not Hollywooding, just confused. Flashwave wants to know what's with the multiple 30-second countdowns. We got a shot clock involved here.
I had a 7. The 7?
You got 30 seconds to make your decision.
I'm losing? Yeah. Promise? Promise. We are holding jacks. Nice credit. Huh? Nice credit for my race. Queen 5.
King 6 offsuit on the button now for Mattsson, as we just mentioned, just 10 big blinds. Not quite enough for him to shove. I think King 6 suited, and he's all in the middle. King 6 offsuit, and he's all in the muck. Folded to Castillo in the small blind, 10-7 offsuit. Definitely going to be too tight to just fold. We've seen him limp and try and take flops before.
Can you check once?
Asked Timothy Adams if he'll check, and Jack 5 offsuit seems like the hand that's not going to get a check. Again, we saw Tim Adams raise the 10-3 off. No playability. Maybe he raises Jack 5 off as well.
Not this time.
Doesn't.
Chucks in the chips. And flops top pair to Castillo's second pair.
Flops 2 pair as well, actually.
Sorry, 2 pair. My
Even
eyes.
stronger, mate. Even stronger.
Even better. 2 pair is better than 1.
Yes. and decides to bet 20k. Bastillo with a pretty strong hand though, Joe. Second pair, blind be blind. So often we see air versus air. He's doing okay here.
So it turns out I can hear the Spanish commentary in Spain. 2 pairs called dobles.
Dobles. Makes sense. So here's the thing, Joe, right? We just saw Timothy Adams raise 10-3 offsuit, fire a couple streets. Now, of course, in this hand, we can see that he has Jack-5, but Bastillo will be aware that he's very aggressive, very capable of bluffing. Probably going to bluff here with hands like Deuce-3 and 6-7. Maybe even some wilder bluffs, you know. Doesn't have to have a straight draw. What if he's just going to go off with a hand like King-8? Anything's possible. So Bastillo is in a difficult situation with just second pair, but in this situation, second pair often still the best hand.
Yeah. Do not envy this position at all. This position out of position. And Bastillo does make the call. 260,000 in the middle. Very unlikely for him to win this hand.
Dangerous river though, everything bricks out. All those straight draws we spoke about missed, all the backdoor flush draws he might decide to bluff with, all of the wilder bluffs he might just apply pressure with. None of those have improved.
Adams ain't scared.
No way Adams is going to let him take a showdown here. That is a huge bet. 325,000 chips, Joe.
Nice.
That's the thing. I think Timothy Adams is supremely confident that his hand is good. He's going to be aware that all those draws missed. And once Bastillo check calls twice on this board, it's quite likely he has showdown value. Right? He's probably not getting here with 8-9. He'd probably stab that himself. So when he check calls, probably got a 10, maybe a weak jack sometimes. And Adams is hoping that he goes for the bluff catch. He doesn't this time. He gets away. Timothy Adams will win another pretty sizable pot.
That is what Timothy Adams does. He's up to 1.2 million, second in chips at this table. Average stack, 1.2 million. However, don't let that fool you. That's 60 plus big blinds. So the average is a little inflated right now, which I assume won't deflate until the early levels tomorrow. I think we are probably not going to lose too many more players tonight in the last 13 minutes.
Queen 9 of diamonds for Hydehorn, opens it up. $45,000. Eight deuce suited in the big blind for Odeen. Players like to defend the big blind very liberally, take a lot of flops, especially with suited hands.
There it is.
Chucks the chips in, and we're off to a flop.
Odeen, Odeen, Odeen. Queen high flop, Hydehorn. Kaboom, top pair.
And Odeen.
Oh dear.
Oh dear indeed. Oh, a trap on the flop, a check behind with the Queen-9 of diamonds, keeping some top pairs in his range, perhaps hoping that Odeen comes out firing on this turn. Odeen picks up a pair though.
Odeen checks his pair.
I think if we don't see him pick up a deuce on the turn, sometimes he's going to bluff. Maybe not with this hand, he has such poor connection, but now that he's there, he's ahead of ace-king, he's ahead of ace-jack, he's ahead of king-jack maybe. Content to try and navigate to showdown. Is going to have to face a bet though.
Is the check on the flop suspicious?
Perhaps. When players are defending the big blind so frequently, you're going to bet a lot of your air just to try and get them to fold and take it down. So check back usually indicates some sort of showdown value, but that showdown value could be ace high. Like I mentioned, it could be ace king or ace jack that the 8 deuce takes the lead against, but Odeen decides he's not quite strong enough to want to continue.
Turns a pair, folds it. And number 198 of the day. Pattern folds, Allen Carr. He should sell his Allen car on Carmo. Oh, I have a car question for you, Ben. You probably know a little bit more about cars than the regular person.
Go.
Is it possible to reverse the driving side of a car, like to make it American style?
So move the steering wheel over onto the left?
Yeah.
You can purchase left-hand drive cars, I guess, as imports, but they're not available for purchase in the UK as far as I'm aware. Why?
Just wondering how much time and effort it would take to convert it.
Oh, you mean like you're buying a right-hand drive vehicle,
yeah,
and you're saying, can you switch everything over to the
yes.
left? I think you'd be laughed at in building.
That's exactly what I want.
He's Brazilian? He's Brazilian.
Being laughed out of the building is my dream.
How many hands did it say?
4 more?
Português.
Ah, você é português?
Eu sou português.
Ah, pô. Até o Darwin tá falando vamos agora também? Vamos. Aí eu falei, porra.
Já é universal.
Hã?
Já é universal.
Ah, daqui a pouco não vai ser mais inglês, vai ser português ou espanhol.
Look at this. Portuguese guy talking to the Brazilian guy.
Yeah. I was like, I thought you knew.
Talking to the American guy.
I don't think he thinks I don't think so.
Sueco metendo vamos.
International language of poker. And
You could
Portuguese.
have been talking the whole time.
Yeah.
After you could have been translated. This could have been completely different.
Yeah, completely.
Joe Stapleton, you are not alone. Dr. Spin in the chat says that he converted a Beetle from right-hand drive to left-hand drive.
Ha!
You like Zlatan?
Huh?
You like Zlatan? Takes.
No, not really. Not like personality-wise.
Right.
Heads up to the flop, and Carmo flops the joint.
I think it's
Somehow
We're
7
like-
deuce just gets cracked
he's
here.
like the guy that's scoring the
Oh,
most.
you hate to see it.
Like
7 is no good.
the most
I can
amount
show
of
you
views
mine.
per
Mine
goal.
is good.
I think like that's like ridiculous.
Vamos.
Yeah, he
That
scores
was good.
Yeah, it's so, what do you say, acrobatic?
3 more hands for such a weird, unique body type.
Yeah, for being like that tall, that strong, like, yeah, it's so much muscle.
And he has such,
So
great, like,
3 hands to go. The draw happened out in the field.
He just like can fucking shoot like with his back heel like over his head.
Yeah, it's
Like
amazing.
belt in Taekwondo or something,
Yeah,
right?
karate, I think it is. Something like that. Maybe it's Taekwondo, yeah. He's one of a kind.
Yeah, he is.
Matson moving all in for his 10 big blinds. Ace-9 offsuit from under the gun. Gets it through to the blinds. Alan Carr with a pair. Not a very good one though. In fact, if I had to rank it, this one would be at the bottom.
Like,
same thing. I mean, I don't mind the showman.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Probably the worst pair you can be dealt.
I like
10 big blinds to call off, but you very rarely want to call it off with the deuces. He does so though. Alan Carr calls the all in, and Matson at risk. Ace-9 versus the pair.
We are flipping here at the end of the night.
I do not prefer one.
It is a race, like Seabiscuit versus Man o' War.
They're 2 of a kind.
One of these 2 hands has a slight mathematical advantage.
Of course. But I was into some people are like,
and an ace in the door. Matson,
No, he's a beast, of course.
10-1 favorite
But
to
it's
double
completely
up.
different players, 2 different contributors. Yeah.
And that actually does not lock it up for him. Still a set of deuces. Will send him home.
To enjoy, yeah.
Deuces do, in fact, loses. Double up Matson and gets the fist bump from Alan Carr. See? The real prize? Friendship.
The real treasure was the friends they made along the way, Joe. That was the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow.
Correct.
You just didn't see it.
Yeah, I did more than, I don't know. Portuguese league is kind of a corrupt league. It's not public, but it's public, you know. Everyone talks about it, but no one does nothing.
Yeah.
So.
I believe this is the penultimate hand
they keep
of the
talking
night.
about one another and not about football. It's really gross. I like sport, not the...
Yeah, the business side is...
The business side is horrible.
Yeah.
Like FIFA is so fun. So disgusting.
Like what, sorry?
FIFA.
Ah.
Yeah.
So sad.
Ben, should we stream
See all these things
FIFA
happen
sometime?
and as fans, you just know you can't do anything.
That's your answer right there.
So many people are like no options to do anything.
Yeah, people become apathetic because there's no other option. You're just like, okay, I guess this is how it is. There's obviously a ton of corruption going on with like the World Cup.
Steel gets away with a steal from under the gun.
Guitar.
More like Postilo.
Postilo indeed.
What are you gonna do?
Yeah, what are you gonna do? There's a world that we don't know.
How many hands left of the night, Joe? Was that the penultimate? Is this the final, or we've 2 more?
I believe this is the last hand of the night. Not the penultimate, the ultimate.
Last hand of the day. There it is, top left. Let's make it a hand to remember. 10-3 offsuit for Odeen. Not a good start. Give us some action. I don't want to have to wait till tomorrow's coverage for action. Here we go, Joe. Ace-7 of diamonds.
This is going to be it. It is gonna be it. Done and dusted. Day 3 in the books.
It's pretty quick, right?
Yeah.
Spraggy.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, my
I
friend.
wonder how many we get.
Pleasure was all mine, Joe.
Literally could not have done it without you. Now, if I could finally ask you this question. How many Swedes does it take to... Oh, sorry, gotta wrap this up, guys. Final chip counts from the featured table. Jerry Odeen, 2.1 million. Simon Matson does double up to 15 big blinds to close out the night.
Yeah, 12. The same location. Median number goes in the bag. Time bank in the bag. We'll have 5 more.
Carmo, Alencar, Bustillo, Hydor, and Adams all coming back tomorrow with decent stacks. Remember, you can read up on all of today's actions at the PokerStarsblog.com. You can also find out all of the info about the other events happening here at EPT Barcelona. Chip counts, updates, features, human interest story. But tomorrow we are back again, same bat time, same bat channel for day 4 of the EPT Barcelona main event. Probably gonna play down to around the final 3 tables. That is it for us tonight. For James Hardigan, I am Joe Stapleton saying, smell you later from Barcelona.